We watched Star Wars Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 4. Now we're going to talk about it. Who's we? Well, of course, that's me, Thomas Connors. Welcome, welcome. And the boss man, Andre. How you doing?
Greetings. I'm good, thank you. How about yourself?
Oh, doing the best I can. We're also joined by the voice of Midnight's Edge, one robot Shlomo himself.
How you doing, everybody?
That was impressive.
That was very impressive. That other voice you hear, that impressive voice you hear, is the one, the only Comics Division. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, man. How about yourself?
Doing the best I can, as I said before. And also joining us is one of our toxic femmes herself, Miss Lorena Creole. How you doing?
I am doing very well, Tom, and so excited to be on with you guys tonight.
Fun. Awesome. We're glad to have you here, and we're glad to talk about some Mandalorian. She's back.
Yes.
Miss Gina.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Cara Dune.
Finally, the
That's an actual
star of the show is back.
That's an actual George Dara Dune. That's a George Harrison song.
I was gonna say
Dara Dune. Yeah. Now we owe the state of George Harrison 3 cents.
There you go. You know what video you need to make next, Rob. Miss Martin Muses sends us a super sticker right off the bat. Well, thank you, Teresa. We appreciate that. I'm willing to bet it's a rose.
And while we're on that is indeed correct. And while we're on contributions, Sister Harrow sends us $10 saying, small contributioners, thanks for all you do. Thank you so much, Sister Harrow. We really appreciate your support.
And that is no small contribution, just the same, but thank you.
Yeah, we really appreciate that. And Stephen Otten says, this is the way for $5. So thank you so much. And also, greetings to everyone else in the chat. We're so glad that you decided to make us part of your day. We are really happy with that. Everyone, please also hit like and help share, because YouTube is sometimes doing a crap job at doing just that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, anyway, we all watched The Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 4. And did we want to just kind of quickly break down what happened in the episode, Andre, or...
Rob, do you feel like breaking it down since you're the narrator supreme?
The ship's still broken. They land back on Navarro with Cara Dune and Apollo Creed. And they find out that things are a lot different, and Baby Yoda pulls some cookies towards him and steals the kid's cookies.
He likes snackies.
Yeah, he likes snackies.
Yes.
And so the blue dude that was frozen in the carbonite, he's loose now. And
that was awesome.
He's working off his debt, and so they find out there's a base, and so they go to the base and they blow it up, and there's a big chase, and they find a secret message that the guy that everybody wants to be Magneto, he's working on secret experiments, and this big mystery, and they escape, and that's it. That's the end.
I don't know if the mystery's so big as it seems.
Yeah, I don't think it's a big
mystery. That's
mystery.
That's as best as I can remember.
Pretty good.
And Baby Yoda gets sickies.
Yes, the blue macrons came right back up.
Speaking of blue, let's start with Mr. Blue Yabadi Yabadai. What did we all feel about seeing him again? The guy
I want that clipped.
Mando hunted down in the very first episode, and how he was back again. I was very happy to see that. But what did the rest of you see?
I think it's
Reina.
Start with Lorena. Yeah. Sorry.
That's okay. No, it was very good to see him. It added a bit of continuity, which was desperately needed, considering how this season started off. And one of the callbacks that I liked to Return of the Jedi was when he was complaining about, he did not like being frozen in carbonite, and he still couldn't see out of his left eye correctly. Which, if you remember from Return of the Jedi, when Han Solo finally got released from that carbonite, he couldn't see straight at all. So that was a good piece of continuity. I really like the guy, the actor who plays him. I don't know his name, but he's a very good character actor.
Comics.
I wasn't too crazy to see the character come back. He's definitely one of those characters, at least because I guess the actor portraying him, he doesn't feel like a Star Wars character. He feels more modern, like he belongs in a more kind of like modern kind of comedy show. Mm-hmm. And so that character really kind of pulls me out of the episode.
All right. Rob.
For a second, I thought it was Derulio's fat cousin from the Orville.
Yeah, he would make a good Orville character, not necessarily a Star Wars character.
I agree on that point.
Yeah.
Well, but to be fair, though, again, this is my point of view as someone that's not a traditional fan of Star Wars. I mean, like, Star Wars characters, aren't they just like grunting and making weird noises in the background, and that's all they do, and they haven't got anything else to do other than like being there looking weird and stuff? Isn't that what like traditional Star Wars aliens usually do?
Well, that was the
Whereas
George
this one-
Lucas way of making sure he had enough toys to fill out the shelf. Yes.
There's that too.
Probably, but this way we got like some humor, some levity. I thought it was like fun seeing like just like seeing the reaction with him like sneezing out of his kilts or whatever the moment he said, "Oh shit, this guy's come to hunt me again."
I mean, I don't hate
And
the
like
character,
the
but
reaction there, I thought that was pretty cool. But again, that's just my point of view as someone who is at best a very, very casual fan of Star Wars, but that really enjoys the Mandalorian.
right. And I didn't hate the character, but I'm not like a big fan. What I do like is that we're getting like some callbacks, and like, you know, a lot of people are like, "Oh, it's filler." It's like, well, like I kept pointing out to people, just be patient. We haven't seen the story play out yet. We don't know what characters are going to be important. We don't know what storylines are going to be important later on. And again, here's another example of a character coming back from a story that we thought had nothing to do with anything previous other than to set up our original, you know, the baby plot line.
Well, continuity-wise, it does make sense to bring him in.
Yeah, and I like that
I
they've
just
been
don't like
doing
the way
that.
the character is portrayed. I don't have a problem
no,
with the
that's
character
fair.
per se. It's just I just don't like the portrayal.
I mean, yeah, I'm the same way. I'm like, I didn't care for the characters much, but I do like that they're doing more this season with calling back to things. So, like,
Exactly.
we have less and less room to say, well, that was filler prior to. But I did notice something funny. Just when we went live here, I got an alert from Walmart. They've got Star Wars toys on sale. And, you know, they usually sort the best-selling toy first, right? Well, guess who is the number one toy on the list?
The Mandalorian?
Miss Cara Dune.
Really?
Honestly,
good.
I thought it was going to be
All
Baby
came
Yoda.
up on the very top. The second one is the Black Series Snowtrooper.
Ooh.
And I'm not surprised. And then the Black Series regular carbonized trooper, and then Admiral Akbar.
I may have to call in some favors at my local Walmart.
But yeah, I guess that just popped up. I thought that was ironic.
Well, that segues nice into the next topic then, because we had the Blue Man Group return, but we also had the return of who to me is the real star of the show, Miss Cara Dune. What do you all feel about seeing her again?
It was great seeing her. It was great seeing her again. I like her character. While she's not my favorite character on the show, that honor rests with Moff Gideon. It was nice to see her in action. And in this episode, we see her in a very interesting role now. She is now the sheriff.
Yeah, they call her the Marshal, but yeah, like at the end of the episode there, you got the New Order or whatever the hell they're called, the New Resistance, whatever. Fuck, yeah.
No,
we could
it's
use
the New Republic.
Yeah, the New Republic or whatever the fuck it's called. I can't remember what it's called.
Those
anymore.
guys.
Those guys.
The new administration coming in. Yeah.
Let's salute and hail to the Presidente, Mr. Abu Nas. How you doing?
Hey, so music.
We finally got some people filing
That
in
one.
here, which is always good.
That one is public domain. I can get away with that.
Yes, you can get away with that. But yeah, so Lorena, anything else to say about Gina? Sorry.
No, just seeing her character. We haven't seen her in a while. I would have liked to have seen her in the season opener, but I'll take her where I can get her. She's believable, you know, as the Marshal. And I liked I guess we're doing spoilers, but I kind of liked at the end where I shouldn't call him Fat Mr. Miyagi. I shouldn't. But
Give it to you hate.
that's what he looks like. And when he asks her, I guess this is with reference to Gina's acting, when he asked her, you know, did you lose anyone on Alderaan? And I'm kind of like, that's the dumbest question ever. And just the look on her face.
Like everybody?
I'm like, okay. Like everybody, you know, that got lost there.
Did you lose anyone on Alderaan? planet is gone.
Exactly. I'm just like, okay.
What do you think?
This does hint at her having some kind of lineage of some kind of sort, I suppose. I don't know if she'll be necessarily related to somebody we already know. Oh, we also have another toxic femme joining us. I wasn't sure if she was going to make it.
Hey, Mary.
Sorry, I just saw all of the messages. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hey.
We're just getting started talking about Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 4.
Yes, I did see it. And I was overall pleased.
All right, well, the first question was, how did you like Blue Man Group coming back?
Oh God, he was a ham. I didn't mind him really so much. I mean, he was a ham, and some of the things didn't add up with him so much. Like if you knew that the tide was going to come up, and you were bringing this civilian guy with you, like why did you bother bringing him along at all? Unless, of course, he's just a meat shield, I suppose, for you guys.
I also thought.
Well, they did kind of use him. I was gonna say they did use him in a lot of situations that were like riskier, because he kept like Carl Weathers could, like, if you want 100 years knocked off your sentence, you'll do it. Kind of thing.
It all felt
but at that rate, he's going to be free in no time. Like he got knocked off, like he had 350 years or something. He got knocked off 200.
About that, yeah.
Yeah, well, we don't know how long that species lives. So the first thing I was thinking was, how is this applicable to somebody who's probably going to die in maybe 50 years or so? But I suppose we don't know how long the species lives. So,
well, not only that, I'm thinking the joke is kind of like how how people get 10 consecutive life sentences for shit. It's like how a life sentence is a life sentence. What's the difference if it's 10 or 1?
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of like years off for good behavior in a prison movie.
Yeah. Well, if you can get decades and 100 years of your time, then you actually have a fighting chance, if that's a regular thing.
I'm sure that'll be an ongoing joke through on here out if he comes back, is that he'll end up being free by the end of one of these seasons. But no. And then the second question we just asked Lorena first, but we'll jump to you, Mary, and then we'll go back to Rob and comics and so on. Cara Dune returning. How did you feel about that?
Oh, I was so pleased. We're doing spoilers, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Go on.
Yeah, I was so pleased with her that they gave her something to kind of give you a way of connecting with her. I knew it was coming. It was both cliche but made complete sense within the context of the story. It was like, did you lose anyone? And she's like, I lost everyone. And I just immediately teared up, and I was like, oh, Cara! It was just, your heart melted for her, because of course she lost everyone. Everyone lost everyone from Alderaan, right? And so when they said she was from Alderaan, I was like, oh God, here we go. But it worked so well for her, and I loved it. So yeah, I loved her return. She was the bright spot of this episode for sure.
Comics?
Absolutely.
I would say that she's the star of the episode, quite frankly. I was pleased as punch to see her come back. I'm a big fan of Gina Carano. I love the fact that we got to see some of her MMA moves at the very beginning of the episode, because there are people like, why didn't she just use blaster? It's like, come on, she's an MMA star.
Yeah,
let her do her thing.
Absolutely.
I also like the fact that they did tie her to Alderaan. It kind of gives her, motivation for why she joined the rebellion. She could have been married, had kids, and lost all of that, and wanted to basically go and, I wouldn't say get revenge, but possibly get revenge for what happened to her family. So I thought that was a nice touch. It's again, characters having motivations. Oh my God, that's an amazing thing to actually see for a change, rather than just.
You mean being
reasons.
being the bestest ever is not motivation enough?
No, it's really not.
Well, the thing is, though, with Cara, when you've got someone like Gina playing her, it makes complete sense that she's the bestest ever at what it is that she does specifically, because she really is, right? And
well, that's exactly it. It's not the fact that we have a problem with somebody being the bestest ever. It's actually having it be realistic. Gina Carano is an MMA fighter, and she's definitely someone who could probably punch out 200-pound guys, because she's got the beef on her to be able to do it, and she's also got the skill. Yeah, exactly. It's not a 90-pound woman beating up a 300-pound guy. It's absolutely believable.
No, she looks the part, she walks the part, she talks the part. You buy into it.
You mean it's not a 90-pound woman beating up a 300-pound guy who leads into a punch with his face?
Yes.
If anyone saw Anti-Tracker's last video, you'll know what I saw. What do you mean by that?
But yeah, I mean, exactly. This is the whole thing. When we complain about, female action heroes in movies, no one's complaining about Gina Carano because she looks the part. It's believable.
I mean, I remember a few people had a bit of an issue with some of her first appearance, but I mean, other than that, I mean, she's earned, I think, a lot of the respect she's gained. This episode, I feel like she really did kind of build up her chops a little bit more. She had more to do, more to dig into with the character, I guess, at the end there. And
yeah, they actually gave her character the ability to develop throughout this episode, which was nice to see. And it's like, and this is not a complaint, because the Mandalorian, even though it's his show, took backstage, so he was kind of a side character in his own episode, which quite frankly I'm fine with because we have the awesome Gina Carano taking center stage.
Yeah, hey, how you doing? Hey,
Yeah.
hey.
yeah, don't tell me she don't know what she's doing with this.
She knows what she's doing.
Exactly.
And
not mad at her.
people are triggered by it.
Hey, want to go get some blue milk? Hey.
My only real thing is it's becoming more and more apparent that we're not going to see as much of Gina Carano because it took us half the season to get to her.
Maybe.
And so, and while I am grateful that they gave her something of a backstory, and so we have some ability to connect with her emotionally in that regard, that because he left the planet again, and so I have a feeling we're only going to see her a few times each season, and I'm bummed about that.
Well, you don't want the character to wear out their welcome either. That's
I think they might be setting her up for her own series as well.
I think they are.
God,
as well.
I hope so.
They could
I
be.
think that's
I
the whole
believe
thing with
that.
her joining the
believe it.
the new rebellion or whatever.
coming fall 2022. Marshall Dune. Yeah.
Oh my
Marshall
God, that's amazing.
Dune.
That's amazing. Yeah, I would watch the heck out of that. Cara Dune just kicking asses and taking names. I would
Call
watch
it the
the heck out of
Marshalls.
that.
Get her and fucking Timothy Oliphant together.
Oh,
Oh,
I like that.
I like
That would
that.
be
A
like
nice.
the best. Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like the best Star Wars thing ever.
get Carl Weathers in there too. That was
Yeah, well, yeah, that's the thing. Maybe you can have like this whole thing where they're like, okay, we're going to help the New Republic build, the Outer Rim and stuff. Well, we need marshals. So like they're the, they kind of get a new crew together of marshals to kind of clean up the wild outskirts, and that's
Wild
a very
Outer
Western
Rim.
show. Yeah, or the wild Outer Rim. Right there's a Western.
Well, and Carl Weathers directed this episode.
Yeah,
as well,
he did.
didn't
Yes.
And
Oh,
I thought he did a pretty great
You know
job.
what? I noticed
Very
we
well
had
done.
we had a Mikey Spockism this episode. Our main star disappeared, and the show got really good. It started feeling like Star Wars,
You know what? You got a point there, Tom.
and because that was what I noticed with that one episode without Mikey Spock this season so far of Discovery was like, you know what? This almost felt like Star Trek for a minute. Like we weren't completely revolved around the one character. We actually had, some stuff that felt Star Trek-y, not that this show has not felt Star Wars at all, but it was like as soon as Pedro was out of the picture, we weren't dwelling on his
Tom,
ho-hum bullshit.
I have to correct you. It's Pedro.
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 Okay.
Yeah, for Andre may not know this, but Pedro called out Jeremy of Geeks and Gamers.
He did.
Really? He
Mhm.
did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
And he think that's a fight he's going to win.
I don't know what he was thinking when he did that. He had to know that was not going to do anything but like galvanize people.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to demonize Jeremy in any way, shape, or form when I say this, but that is like picking a fight with the devil. There's no way you're going to win.
And even if you do win, you lose.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that really is one of those
dude.
situations where you have to pay no attention. Like you just have to sort of hope Jeremy goes away. He's not going away, obviously, but if you pay Jeremy attention, like if you acknowledge that he's there, like you're only going to really, really regret it later. Not understand what he was thinking. So
Yeah, the last
Just
thing you
what I
want to do is
thought.
give him attention. Yeah.
Yeah, just when I thought that Pedro couldn't be any dumber than he appears to be, then he goes and he does that.
No, he went from Jim Carrey to full Jeff Daniels in about 10 seconds. So
Tom, what did Dave Chappelle say about keeping it real? Remember?
When keeping it real goes wrong.
No, he goes, Dave, you keep it real. You gotta pick your spots.
gotta pick your spots.
And that wasn't one of them.
No.
no. No.
Mm-mm.
I don't
No,
know.
well, we can tell it's getting to him. This is where, and I don't know if we want to get on this just for a minute or two and then jump into some super chats.
Sure, get into Pedro. with that one
But
with it.
yeah, like, dude, you're really starting to fuck this up, man. And not only that, it's really starting to show that you probably, all the stuff we heard was probably true. I'm really starting to question if he's really even that much part of the show anymore. Like,
Well, they probably told him behind the scenes, you could be replaced, cheeky baby. So don't you?
well,
Yeah.
that's the thing.
Yeah.
He can be replaced quickly as opposed to somebody like,
There's usually like 3 other Mandalorians on set.
well,
isn't there?
that's the thing is we're questioning whether or not half the time he's even there.
Yeah.
Like, because like Andre pointed out in the one video when we did on this, he wasn't even hired until they were already X amount of episodes into the show. So he wasn't in the costume at all for the first few. And then I guarantee you he probably is there the least amount possible because you don't want to pay him any more than you have to.
Well, here's the thing at this point. I mean, honestly, if it really was the stunt double or body double those first few episodes, to me, they kind of seem like a better actor. You can get anyone to do the voice. Hell, just hire the stuntman to be the Mandalorian.
Yeah,
I
you
agree.
can get anybody to dub it, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
sure there are plenty of people out there who can
His
do
voice is not that distinct, right?
Yeah.
No,
it's
it
really
isn't.
not.
And that's where I
central casting voice.
And I
Dave
said
Ch-
that's where they kind of shot themselves in the foot on this, is they could have really played this out for a while, had somebody like Timothy Oliphant be the voice, and we not see the face until a certain point. But they screwed that up because Pedro's a nobody. And that's why he's so pissed, is because he's not in, his face isn't front and center in one of the biggest TV shows out there right now. Yeah, his name's on it, his voice is in it, but nobody knows who the fuck Pedro is.
Dave
Yeah.
Dave Chappelle is the Mandalorian.
Oh my god!
Don't you touch a hair on that baby!
Oh my god!
That
I
would
would
be
say-
Baby! Hey, baby! Quit using your Jedi powers! They're gonna fuck her up.
I would say outside of Game of Thrones or Narcos, you wouldn't really know who Pedro Pascal is.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, is he's not a big name actor. He's
Well,
not a face or
I
a
never-
voice.
I never
That
heard
we
of
all
him
know.
until now.
Well,
I
that's
mean-
the thing, Rob. Like, yeah.
Yeah, he's not
This
a
is the
A-list
most-
star.
Then again, though, my brother one time talked to me for 10 minutes about something called the Red Wedding, and I just looked at him. I said, I don't know what any of this means.
I know enough to know
Yeah.
that's a Game of Thrones reference. Okay.
Yeah. Same
It
here.
is-
Speaking of Game of Thrones, let us not forget that he had an awesome role in Game of Thrones, because there he looks like this badass, and then he got his head freaking crushed on screen, and it was
Yeah.
pretty glorious, to be honest. Would
It
it not
was
be
awesome.
hilarious? It was. Would it be hilarious if they decide that, you know what, this is how Mando is going to end, and they hire the same guy from Game of Thrones?
Oh
to
my
come
God.
back and
Oh, the
tell you?
man-
Oh, that would be funny.
that would
Oh
be
my
awesome.
god! That would be, like, there we go. Complete subversion of your expectations. Kara's the star now.
Yeah. Well, no, and here's the thing: is I'm not saying that Mando is a bad character like Mikey Spock. If anything, he's just bland. He has nothing to attribute to him. Some of the things he does are stupid, which you ladies.
A
have brought
lot
up
of
before.
things he does are stupid.
Well, we lost Andre, but he'll be back. Yeah, a lot of things he does are stupid, and we're always more excited about the other characters. Like, that's a common denominator I've noticed throughout our reviews is we've never sat there and go, oh, the Mandalorian himself was just amazing in this fucking episode. I don't ever remember saying that outside of maybe
No.
the first episode where he
No.
actually got to kick ass for a few minutes. In
I
that first bit.
honestly, I don't have an issue with the way the characters, I wouldn't say being portrayed, because there's definitely issues I have with the way some of the things he does. I think that the setup, I'm fine with Pedro Pascal playing the Mandalorian. I'm fine with him being, the kind of the mysterious guy riding into town that doesn't talk a whole lot. That works, but you have to do it in a certain way or it's not going to work. One of the big issues that we're running into with the show is that everybody else is outshining the main character. And it is, Script Doctor has pointed out, it does feel like there's a lot of kind of backdoor pilots that are being set up through this show.
And everything feels like it happens to him. Like, he rarely has a handle on things.
Yeah, no, I agree, and that's part of it where it feels like a video game at times, because these are all like side quest stuff that he has to do.
Well, and I realized that when when he lost Nick Nolte's character, like in that first part, because like that's what carried a lot of that first bit. Sorry, comics.
Oh,
No, it's fine. But what it comes down to it is that you know, when you have other people outshining your main character, that is obviously an issue.
It's a huge issue.
Yeah.
Because sorry, comics division. I mean to interrupt you.
That's right. Tom made me forget my main point anyways.
I'm so sorry.
I know.
No,
I know.
right.
One of the things that I've noticed with the Mandalorian is like there seems to be more exposition around these other characters than the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
now
it's
I
like
remember what I was getting at. Ultimately, my issue with the character is the fact that for someone who is like very competent in one scene, he's completely very incompetent in another.
That's
and
true.
I get the idea that we don't want to marry Sue, but there's certain things like the dude just makes dumb decisions.
Yeah, like you have him in one bit where you're right, comics. That's my issue. His inconsistency. That's it. He's 1 minute he's the best, smartest guy in the room. The next he's making tons of mistakes, which is not a problem as long as you're consistent.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of consistency, we have one of the most consistent nerds on the internet with us right now, and I want that fucking shirt.
What's up, man?
I want that shirt, my friend. Welcome, Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. A pleasant surprise as always.
Well, thank you. I'm sorry. I've been in a tizzy because of the upcoming 2-parter of Star Trek Discovery called Terra Firma Parts 1 and 2.
And I heard that you were going to cut it off if this was so bad.
Twice. It's twice the rage you're going to be feeling.
I can't even begin to tell you. I can't say what it is. I mean, I can't, it's
because you know something, don't you?
It's so awful. I can't even begin to tell you how awful it is.
Oh wow!
And it's just.
Are they truly plumbing the depths of new awful?
I can't. It's something. It's like the Matrix. No one can explain to you what the Matrix is. You just have to see it for yourself.
The Matrix is
so it's a prison for your mind.
It's.
Matrix is
I mean, I will say this. So there's a beloved piece of Star Trek canon that Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Enterprise did not touch. Mm-hmm. It's something that is unique to the original series and to the animated series. Ooh. And they do something. Oh, I can't even. I just.
You know what I say? I say fuck them, R&B. Let it out there.
I promise.
Yeah, we don't want you to get into any trouble, but what we do demand that when it's out there, that you're going to come on Midnight's Edge and you're going to share your feelings.
Oh, I think
that's the first demand I think Andre's ever made.
So if I'm reading this right, they're going to anally violate Star Trek without its permission.
They've been doing that all along.
It's funny that you actually use that terminology.
Wow.
Because there is a graphic to be made. There is a graphic that can be made with that kind of and people will. I'm sure.
I was going to say, and all the memers in the chat perked up their ears a bit.
Yes, I mean, yes, but see, the thing is, I can't even say why I'm saying this, but you'll know. You'll know.
I after Picard, I
don't know.
Discovery. I don't think I ever will. No.
No, you will, because it's going to be so pervasive. Because I'll tell you something. If what I understand, it even has something to do with Doctor Who.
What?
Oh, Jesus Christ! So they're going.
Do they even know what show they're writing anymore?
It doesn't sound like it.
Let me just say, this is a confluence of events that involve Section 31, the show, Philippa Georgiou, Michael Burnham. I can't even and
sodomy, one way or the other.
It is a nexus of suck. It sounds like
it is, and it's all circling around a beloved piece of Star Trek canonical lore
that they're just about to shit on. Is what
it is so beyond the pale. I can't even. I can't even imagine. It's just anyway. You guys are talking about the Mandalorian, right?
I'm
The fuck?
I see now. Now all you have me thinking of is when Lewis Black. He says they're taking it. They're blowing their pants. They're squatting and they're taking a massive dump and then showing it to you. And you say, "Ugh." And you say, "You just took a shit." And he goes, "Well, that's very unfair you to say that. This is obviously fertilizer." And that's what it sounds like. What's going on over there?
I'm actually quite perplexed by the whole thing, to be honest. And it's look, I guess they had to get George Al back to per point of origin.
God darn it. Right? I knew it. I knew it. I knew it.
Well, but you don't know. You don't know. You might think you 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 know.
Okay.
But it's not. It's just.
Why?
It's even worse than that.
Why am I? Why I am actually? I've never felt this about it until now, but now I am actually scared for Star Trek. I really am. I'm actually scared right now.
I think we're
prospect
far
of
beyond
Trek's
that
future.
I've been scared ever since Picard.
Yeah, we were talking about
As
Mandalorian, though, as you were correct, Robert.
Well, you did say this was about the Mandalorian. I came in. Look,
no, that's fine.
I can't,
it's just more important. I mean,
just love that Carl Weathers got to direct
Star
TV.
Wars.
It's Carl. I just for no other reason, Carl Weathers directed this episode, and I thought that was cool.
Yeah,
Action Jackson directed this episode.
Yes,
Apollo Creed,
and I have to say, I've always loved Carl Weathers. I think he looks great in the show. I want to grow up and look like Carl Weathers when I'm his age.
No shit. He's like what in his 70s now?
He's fucking badass, that dude.
Yeah.
Awesome.
He doesn't look a day over like
I'm a
50
straight
something?
man, but he's a handsome hunka burning love, that guy. And I love his peppery beard. I love his voice. I love everything about Carl Weathers.
He still looks so good that Stallone almost thought about having a flashback scene with him in Rocky Balboa. I don't know if you remember hearing about that.
I did hear about that, and they should have done that.
Yeah, they thought about doing it, but I think it was more so that Sly couldn't look that young.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think Carl Weathers is the man. I mean, he's he is I love that guy. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if he's the greatest director in the world, but I was happy he got to direct the
72.
Yeah, same here. It was a good episode too.
Yeah. And I love the fact that they've turned the Imperial Troop Transport, which was a Star Wars toy that was never actually canonical, and they've made it canonical. And it got this great chase sequence in this episode. That was awesome.
I had that toy. That thing was awesome.
And it had the sound effects around the gun. It had those sound effects. It was awesome. And to see that they've that's why The Mandalorian is at least fun for me, because it's like they're like, yeah, Jon Favreau's like, I love the Imperial Troop Transport. Why don't we make it a thing? And it was fighting against it's on the ground fighting TIE fighters.
That was a really well done scene too. And one of the biggest complaints I've had about this season or series so far is the lack of stakes that I felt in the episode. And I actually felt tension and stakes in it for a change.
I did have one big question about it. It's something that never really lined up for me, at least in terms of timeline, was they said that he had time, right? This was going to take time to fix the ship. And so when the Razor Crest comes in, and look, I loved the episode. I had a really good time with it, but something just didn't mesh for me there. And it was that the Razor Crest comes in and it saves the day when I thought it was still like Baby Yoda is still eating those cookies, right?
Yeah.
Like this can't have been that long. So how is the Razor Crest able, like it limped into port?
It shouldn't be. That's the thing. And this is one of the issues with the series itself, is the fact that there is a lack of concept of time. That ship should have been in repair for like the last 3 weeks. So there's no way the Razor Crest would have been ready.
I can't get a transmission done in 2 weeks. How did that happen?
Yeah.
I mean, it fell into an ocean and it fell through ice and crashed on the ground of the planet. I mean, that completely destroys verisimilitude. By the way, on another note, can I just point out that Carl Weathers and Action Jackson starred in a movie that had Vanity and Sharon Stone in it, which means Carl Weathers in 1988 was winning at life. I just want to point that out. And he directed this week's episode of The Mandalorian. So, I mean,
I just
I
wish
don't even
that
know what to say.
Unfortunately, I think that movie kind of tanked his career a bit, even though I liked it. I thought it was a
It's
good
fun.
movie.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
fun movie.
Fun.
Yeah, and absolutely. And it was also directed by Craig Baxley, who was a stuntman who went on to direct a movie with Brian Bosworth called Stone Cold.
Oh, I got that.
That is Stone Cold is one of the most underrated gems of action cinema. And the fact that Craig Baxley got to work with Carl Weathers and Vanity and Sharon Stone, I'm telling you, winning at life, 1988 was a good year for them. And The Mandalorian this week, so good on Carl Weathers.
Yeah, but it was funny you come in when you did, because I was bringing up the fact that unlike Mikey Spock, the Mandalorian may not be Mary Sue, but I noticed a similarity with this episode as I did with the episode where she was non-existent. The moment Mando left the picture, the show became more exciting and action-oriented. It's like, I feel like we're getting more and more to this point where without the baby, once he doesn't have Baby Yoda, I'm curious if we'll even care that much about the Mando, and that's kind of what we were talking about when you
This is the problem too with the child, is the fact that he's kind of a wet blanket on the series.
Well, which is to the great regret of everybody watching the series, because I remember when it first debuted or whatever, mine and along with many other people in the community, we were all incredibly excited about this sort of Western gun-toting guy that we were going to be able to kind of dive into this very different atmosphere, but still have it be so akin to Star Wars. And so that's really to the regret of everyone, because that wasn't what we wanted initially. I really wanted to like Mando.
Yeah,
And now
I
I just look forward to the moments where I get to see Cara Dune and Baby Yoda eating cookies and force pulling cookies to himself, which is sad.
Well, we did get a little bit more of a story element in this episode, though, as far as like at least hinting as to what the baby's use was.
Oh yeah,
and something is going on, obviously, with some type of cloning or
we know Tom hates those midichlorians. Tom hates those midichlorians.
Yes, I do.
I thought
count.
of Tom as soon as I heard midichlorians.
I think my eyes rolled so back in the back of my head that I could see my brain. I'm not a midichlorian fan.
Same here.
It does at least make sense in terms of why they need this baby in particular, right? Because he has that high midichlorian count. And so that's why they're focusing in on him. And they did a great job of explaining that, I felt, although I wasn't keen on the Snoke reference.
Okay, so here's my question then for everybody. Is this a clone of Yoda, or is he just another same species that they found? What do you guys think? Obviously, we don't have an answer.
I have to think it's same.
You don't think it's a clone of Yoda?
I don't think it's a clone. No.
Yeah, I don't either.
If it was a clone, well, I don't know. I guess it could still be a child, but
it feels like you would start to degrade once you start.
That's what I was thinking. His midichlorian count wouldn't be so high. Again, it's like making a copy of a copy after a copy, like Mary said. You just have that degradation.
Well, see, and that just keeps going back to my whole thing with, I feel like when whoever made Anakin messed with the midichlorians and the Force counterbalanced by making its own versions with another Yoda, was kind of my theory. I could be wrong, but that's my theory, is what we're going to find out.
Well, one of the things, I've loved Star Wars my whole life, and I saw The Empire Strikes Back 26 times in a theater when it first came out. One of the things that I think is a huge criticism of the Star Wars universe is they've never defined what the Sith want. Like, for instance, if the Sith were to win, are they going to pay for public education?
They just want cake on Tuesdays. Just cake on Tuesdays. That's it.
Well, yeah, but I think it's a real problem, because the whole idea of the dark side of the Force and the light side of the Force, to me, it seems like, well, what is that going to, like the Sith, there's always a master and an apprentice. But what is it they're trying to do? Like Palpatine won. He ascended to the Emperor of the Galaxy. And what did he do with his position?
Well, he was completely derelict in his duties. And really his goal was to do it forever, which is bizarre because he didn't seem to enjoy it.
Well, my question is, though, was he then going, like for instance, I would think that if the Force, and we know the Force is a living, the living force it's an energy field that surrounds us, it binds us, it holds the galaxy together. Now, I don't think the Force is necessarily sentient. It doesn't necessarily have an intelligence behind it, or maybe it does. We don't know. But this energy force is vital to existence.
Well, that's where the wills come in, isn't it? The wills of the Force.
Yeah, the wills. But that's not something that's ever been well explored.
It's never been
explained.
Yeah, and so the idea that there are these two opposing forces, if you're part of the Empire and or you don't believe in the Empire, like you have a man in Palpatine who ascended. He won. I mean, Palpatine won. What he succeeded, what he wanted to do happened. And when he had Vader, there was a time where the Sith were ascendant and they had conquered the galaxy. But is there desire then to, like, say, Satan would be from our own mythology, to get everyone to sell their soul? And I wonder if everybody turned to the dark side. I mean, not everybody's an adept Force user, but the people that are, like, if the Jedi had thrown in with the Sith and the Jedi just decided, I want to get laid, so you know what, I'm going to become part of the dark side, because then nobody would care if I got married or whatever.
Yeah,
and we wouldn't have such a chaste universe.
Well,
I think the other thing too is that, and I don't know if this is canon anymore, but the Sith were actually supposed to be a race of people at one point.
They were. And it's really bizarre because while conversion was an aspect of what it was that Palpatine did, and he certainly did go and acquire Jedi or younglings and Padawans and convert them into Inquisitors. He certainly did do that. He had a hierarchy in mind that didn't include everyone else. He didn't really care about anybody else converting to his ideology, only whether or not they served or suited his needs.
Well, the one thing I thought was pretty cool that they had in the expanded universe was the idea that Palpatine knew that there was going to be this alien species that was going to come in and invade the galaxy.
The Yuzon Vong.
Yes, thank you. Yes. That's them. And the idea was that the reason why he created the Empire was to unite the galaxy against this external threat. So it's like, you could say his, motivations were pure, but his execution was, obviously very flawed.
But I think that's cool. But the question is, it comes back to me again, the Sith itself.
Yeah,
like the whole idea.
I agree with you.
Like what does that mean? And I think it's become something that the Mandalorian could actually serve to define, because we need to understand. Like I think that there's a point of view that maybe was the galaxy better off. Like, we're told that it wasn't well off because we're on the side of the rebellion when we watch Star Wars,
right?
But maybe there's a flip side, that the galaxy was we offer the galaxy order.
Well,
maybe
you have that deal in that earlier episode of The Mandalorian where they kind of had the stormtroopers sitting there like, I miss the Empire. Yeah, at least we had like healthcare and job security and stuff like that, kind of in so many words,
Some people had it, but a great many.
Right. But like what Robert's saying, we're seeing the other side of that. Like, why would you sit there and ask yourself, well, why would all these people just turn around and go, hail the Empire, kind of thing?
It's kind of like that joke in Life of Brian, and he goes, "What if the Romans?"
Exactly. Yes, that's exactly what it
brought us.
reminded me
Roads, clean water.
Yeah. Yes. But what else have the Romans really done for us?
Your average imperial citizen actually viewed the rebels as being terrorists, despite the fact that the Empire did some terrible stuff. I mean, and again, a lot of the stuff has been kind of told through the expanded universe, but it has been thrown out.
Right.
The whole thing with Tarkin basically landing his shuttle on a group of protesters.
Really?
I was thinking something similar even in the Last Jedi, because there you have like what looks like to be the entirety of the Resistance is there on screen. Like if you
that is actually, I think, supposed to be the entirety of the Resistance at that point.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Okay, so here you have a whole galaxy. And the only one resisting the newly restated empire are these handful of people, like 200 something, like in a couple of rusty old bucket of ships or something. And that's the only resistance.
None of that makes
everyone
sense
else.
to me.
Yeah.
Like why are they called the Resistance? They're the New Republic.
Yeah,
it should have been the army.
That's because they did a shitty job of explaining things to us. Like that's what I think they're trying to do a little bit with the Mandalorian, but they're not going to be able to get into too deep into. Is that basically once the Empire fell, the entire galaxy probably fell into disarray, and that's where I was saying they should have started
to
out
a degree, though.
Yeah, that's where I was saying
I liked about the Weston Games stuff is that they set up the universe perfectly because just because the Emperor died doesn't mean the bureaucracy magically goes away.
Right. And that's what I was getting to.
You have these factions of governors, these Moffs that are running things, and not only are they fighting amongst themselves, they're also fighting against the New Republic.
Well, and that's what I was going to get to, even though you have in episode 4 where they talk about how they have basically, got rid of all the bureaucracy and the regional governors now are in control or whatever. Like they've got their whole order set up. And that's the thing is like you were just getting to, as I was going to say is, even though they took down the Emperor himself in the second Death Star, there's still how much of the Empire throughout the galaxy. And that was what I was going to get to is I'm sure you have a ton of people who are sympathizers who they've been in this for however long. This is all they know. And they're not just going to turn over to some, ragged rebellion. But that's what they didn't let us know in The Force Awakens was what was this New Republic? What was it made up of? How was it built? And why is there still a resistance? That's what they needed to let us know is they didn't let us know any of that. It was like who actually is in control then.
And you could simply look to history to see how something like this would happen because when the Roman Empire fell, not all of it fell. You still had the Eastern Empire. And then the Roman Empire turned into the Holy Roman Empire. So I mean a lot of that, as much as things changed, you still had it kind of evolve into something else. And that's the same thing that would happen with the Empire.
It kind of put into the thing of the question of what fills that vacuum of power.
Exactly.
But the problem is that I don't want the Mandalorian. I don't want it to be incumbent on the Mandalorian to have to deal with filming.
Right. And that's what I was getting at is it shouldn't have to. Yeah.
I agree with you too. I mean, one of the interesting things about the sequel trilogy as it's conceived, if you're a kid that you're 5 years old now today, and you discover Star Wars, and you're going to discover Star Wars in the order that it now exists, episodes 1 through 9. And you watch it. You get to episode 6. You watch Return of the Jedi, and Palpatine is apparently destroyed, and the Empire is defeated. And with the special editions, we see celebrations across the galaxy.
Yes.
Then you put in Force Awakens, and it's 30 years later, and you're basically back to square one.
Yeah, exactly.
And
that's my issue. Yeah.
And then your question is, you're as a kid watching this, you'd be like, Mom, I mean, I just watched these 6 movies and the Empire is defeated. We watched the rise of fascism or the Empire, and then it's defeated. And then there's the First Order. Does that mean our characters are douchebags? And at the end of Return of the Jedi, they don't. 30 years go by and they just allow the same shit to happen again.
Right, exactly. And that's what I was saying. Like JJ had no idea where to start this.
No,
I don't know what the hell they were doing. They just had to have a bad guy. And instead of the first Force Awakens being like a political potboiler thriller where you have like a bunch of, it had to be basically like The Force Awakens should have been the Winter Soldier of the Star Wars films.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, that is.
It should have been.
They had a perfect setup, too, because they could have had a Cold War, essentially. You have half the galaxy being the New Republic and the other half being the remnants of the Empire, and they're basically at the stalemate.
Yeah, well, what you have is, you have Leia, and you have Leia on one hand, who's so wrapped up in the New Republic. You have Luke on the other hand, who's so wrapped up in raising the new Jedi up. And then you have in the middle of all this an old empire that's been seething and working its way into this new republic. And then in this film is when we should have seen that turn of events where all these people that we thought were good were actually bad. They're actually part of the empire still, and they want the old ways back. And that's where we learn that Kylo Ren has gone to the other side through all this, and Luke lost him, and Leia being, so wrapped up in what she was doing, didn't pay attention to her own son. And that's also what drove Han Solo away, what have you. Well, and you can still have a similar story, but you still need that setup.
And that would explain any kind of division between Leia and Luke, because Luke understands that the failure of the Jedi was to become so wrapped up in the Republic in the first place, right?
Yeah.
And so then you have a reason for Luke to be estranged from Leia, at least. But that was never something that they expanded on or explored.
And that was the logical place to start, though. Yeah, sorry.
The original ending, I know that Gary Kurtz pitched was the idea that at the end of Jedi, Han would have sacrificed himself to basically win the day. So he dies. Leia goes back to help rebuild the Republic, and Luke is kind of left to himself trying to figure out where he fits into the galaxy now, and essentially go and kind of try and rebuild the Jedi. And so you kind of have that bittersweet ending where everybody goes their separate ways. You have a tragic loss, but that's ultimately what we didn't get.
No,
and
but that's how it should have.
It should have been. Yeah,
and you know what's interesting to me about the Mandalorian is the Mandalorian, being that it's set in the Outer Rim territories. If you want to equate it, let's just equate it to America, because after all, the prequel trilogy is about the fall of democracy. And if you look at the Mandalorian to me represents, like, if you equate it to America, it's all of our great cities that used to be the basis, the manufacture, like Detroit, building cars.
Mm-hmm.
All of our great cities that used to be our manufacturing hubs, all of that stuff has gone to foreign territories, whether it's China or wherever else. So you have these cities that were once the cornerstones of America. They manufactured things, they built things. They're in disrepair, they're in disarray, and we don't have that anymore. The manufacturing base has been sent away. So the Outer Rim colonies that used to produce, whether you're a moisture farmer or whatever, the breadbasket of the galaxy, the Outer Rim territories, which is kind of the Old West, have become this place where it's become lawless, and the fall of the Empire everything is in a state of disarray, and nowhere more so than the Outer Rim colonies. So that's where the Mandalorian comes into play, and it's almost like the Mandalorians are going to bring order. They have their own deal that they want to do. They want to become ascendant again, and so they could offer the Outer Rim territories a government that they aren't going to get from either the Empire, the remnants of the Empire, or the budding New Republic, which I think could be interesting.
I appreciate this take that the people are sort of starting to stand up and take care of themselves. They're implementing their own marshals, implementing their own government individually and independently from everyone else. And so you kind of see those rebel fighters poke their heads up from time to time. They're like, "What are you doing out here? We got this handled." Like,
we're good. We don't need your help.
Sanctioning, as we saw at the end of this episode, like Cara Dune gets her she's now a marshal. She's now a Republic. She's like, you're part
basically
of the New Republic.
Her badge, yeah.
Yeah, she gets a badge, but it's the New Republic that has to like anoint her. And I'm like, we find out she's from Alderaan. Like, I don't know, man. You didn't save my planet.
Yeah. I can understand why she would be bitter too.
Well, one thing we overlooked is that Moff Gideon has a inside source. And I'm assuming it may be one of our stars, possibly. Who do we think it could be?
Oh, no.
Banana.
I wonder if it's Blue Guy.
He's the weakest link.
Well, because he gets all this info, remember? Like, where did he get it from? He knows that his ship was there. He knows the baby was there. All that business. So
he kind of has a reason to hate Mando, I think.
True.
By the way, Robert, I got to ask, what are you drinking?
I am drinking Voodoo. I'll show you. I am drinking a Voodoo Ranger. It's a Seattle-based
I like
company.
that logo.
Oh, yeah, I'm familiar with them.
Oh, I've seen that.
Yeah.
And I think it's 9%. It's an IPA.
And the other question is, did you guys think those were Dark Troopers?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I didn't know what they were. I didn't know the name of what they were, but as soon as I saw them, I just thought Super Soldier.
Yeah, when I first saw it, I was like, man, they're doing Dark Forces, aren't they? They're going back to being a video game again.
I don't feel like they left being a video game.
Well, yeah, they're becoming more of a video game.
Really?
It goes back to, this is kind of my issue with what's kind of going on with Mandalorian, is they keep mining older stuff that was much better. For ideas. It's like, come on, be original for once.
With respect to the games, because for someone like me who I haven't played the games, I've read maybe 2 EU novels. My basis of Star Wars lore is episodes 1 through 6. So to me, a lot of these things they seem new to me, but not quite unfamiliar. It's like I can't quite put my finger on where it comes from, but it seems to line up okay. So for someone like me, those things are new.
Well, the problem with the member berries, though, is that they never seem to quite nail it correctly, right? So they throw it in there. They throw it in there, and they I don't understand why they don't understand that there's an issue with putting in this member berry that you bank on these people recognizing, but then you don't do it correctly.
Yeah,
And
the
so
biggest one is the crate
on,
dragon. For me, the biggest one was a crate dragon. That member berry that pissed me off. I expected a dragon, not a freaking dune sandworm.
Yeah, and every depiction we've seen in either video games or in comics, the crate dragon looks like a dragon. I mean, you can go to Wikipedia and see what a crate dragon looks like. It's like, you guys can't do that. Why?
I think they just wanted to go big and grand, but what I don't understand is this is a really easy fix. They could have just added a subspecies of crate dragon and called it a crate worm.
Or they could have called it something else completely different.
Everybody would have gotten both their member berry and then not felt terribly upset that you'd gone and messed with lore again, right? So
not a lot of people actually know about the crate dragon. I mean, it gets.
Well, can I ask you guys? Isn't the skeleton?
The skeleton is a crate dragon.
Yeah, that's a crate dragon.
That's what I was getting at. It's like the only thing that we have in the movies is that you see the skeleton, it's unnamed, but for those who dig into the lore, we know it's a crate dragon.
And that from the very beginning, the first 10 minutes or the first 15 minutes of Star Wars, that thing is established, and they gave it. Look, I mean, that was one of the things that kind of bummed me out about that first episode is I've wanted to see that thing with skin on it walking around for 43 years.
Yeah.
That's like, show it to me, man. Give it to me. I didn't feel I got that.
I know it's getting late for Andre. Did you want to grab a couple super chats before you head out, Andre, or?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I have to be leaving because I have to get up early tomorrow, and we are past the edge of midnight where I'm at my particular location.
Nice choice of words.
Yeah, indeed. That's one of the ironies of the channel name. I've spent loads of hours burning midnight oil in the making of it.
But we're not going anywhere, but we'll let Andre do a couple super chats before he takes off, and then we'll continue the conversation.
Absolutely. We'll do some super chats. The first one, or the eldest one that we haven't addressed, so I'll just do some of the list here, is Terminus Est. Who likes how I say his name, for $2 says, hope those are not Palp or Snoke clones in the lab. Well, actually, you should hope that they are and that they get killed off later on.
I'm wondering if they weren't Snoke clones.
That's how you do it. Yeah. Wouldn't that be hilarious? You set up the clones, then you just kill them later. Wouldn't that be a nice way to do it? But yeah. I'll leave that for you to discuss. And Stephen Otten says, for $5, while The Mandalorian is not perfect, it is entertaining, and we desperately need that right now. Yeah,
this is very true. With all its flaws, it is still at least entertaining, and I would probably watch it for sure without the channel, unlike Star Trek.
Yeah. And the John,
you wait.
Yeah. I can't wait to have you on next week. It's next week this thing goes down, Rob, isn't it?
No. I think it's a two-parter.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe it starts next week. No, next week is Unification 3.
What?
Yeah, that's the title of next week's episode. Unification 3, because we already had Unification Part 1 and Part 2 during the 5th season of Next Gen. So this is Unification 3
again. I'm scared.
Yeah, of course. You have to go back and retroactively ruin as much as they possibly can.
Well, we will do our best.
Don't worry. Terra Firma 1 and 2. That's the jam.
Well, we'll do our best to have you around for our Discovery discussions as well.
Actually, the Romulans are like my favorite species in the show, and I really hope they don't screw them up more than they already have.
Well, I don't know about that yet.
Well, anyway, we need to have you on for that. Absolutely, that's a requirement.
Honestly, I might scoop my eyeballs out with a teaspoon.
Oh my god!
Before I get to that, only because I can't make it stop. You know, it's like in The Exorcist when Reagan McNeil is flailing on her bed. Mommy, make it stop! Make it stop! I've been feeling kind of that way since Star Trek 2009, and it's been 11 years of hell for me. and it might just be time to end it all. It might just be
Don't
time.
say that.
I'm right there with you, Robert. I really am.
And I'm going to puncture one of my eyeballs, and I'm going to use the goo to like write my last will and testament
Oh
on
my
the wall.
God. No. If you want to go full him, just write it on the wall.
Yeah, yeah.
STD.
I'll write no kill eye like the Horda. Like the Horda did. No kill eye, but I want to kill all of you, Discovery producers.
We can end this if someone just goes and sucker punches what's his name, Kurtzman.
Are you kidding? That would just make him a martyr.
Yeah, but the funny thing about him is, and I have to say, I admire him because he's got like, how many shows does he get? That guy's getting paid. He is getting so much money.
Yeah,
and
that's what we call blood money.
Yeah.
Selling
your soul.
It's just, I mean, I can never disrespect anybody that's figured out a way to get paid in the industry. It's so hard to get anything made.
Paid enough to stop.
but yeah, I mean, what I don't understand is, look, with the Mandalorian, I really do think that with Jon Favreau, he's putting all the love that he has into this show. Whether we like it or not, at least he's putting, and all the people that are making it are trying to give us something that we will love. Don't you think so?
I would agree with that. I just think that the problem is that they haven't gone about the business of finding someone to check their work. And it's the same problem that we had with the prequels, was that no one came in to check George Lucas.
Yes,
to kind of make sure
absolutely correct.
And so they think they've got this handled, and because it's a relative hit, and because people are being very tolerant of a lot of the flub ups, because people are so hungry for good Star Wars, they haven't gone about the business of having someone come in to lore check them, to make sure that they're doing this properly and that it fits well. And so that indicates a sense of recklessness that I'm just not comfortable with.
I think if Gary Kurtz wasn't kicked to the curb, we probably would have gotten much better prequels.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, the original Star Wars was a mess. And what happened, you had people like Marsha Lucas, and you had people like Gary Kurtz, and you had people that weighed in and were able to help George Lucas shape it. I mean, the problem with George Lucas is really he's one of us. He's a big nerd, and he had these ideas, and like with the prequels, he was so detached from the rest of mankind because, I mean, the guy couldn't go in. Can you imagine? Like, you want to go to 7-Eleven and get a Slurpee, you can't even get out of your car and go in and buy a Slurpee without
getting mobbed.
Oh my God, you're George Lucas. You changed my child. Like, everywhere you went. I mean, what does that do to you as a person? You can't even live a life.
It's part of the reason why I think he burned down the franchise intentionally because of that. I think the prequels were a bit of a sabotage job because of that success that he's been dealing with.
Well, I think that the thing about the prequels, if you look at, like, if you go back and you watch these documentaries, the technology that they had created, like, he would take multiple takes. He would, like, someone's head move in one take or line reading in another, and he would use digital technology and take someone's head off one take and put it onto the head of another take. He went so above and beyond. What he did was he bled out the humanity of, when you're making a movie, when you shoot a scene, what you want is you want the actors to have that twinkle in their eye.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think a princess and a guy like me? No. It's that kind of exchange that people talk about the acting. I think the acting in the original Star Wars is fucking great.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Those characters are so you believe
that's because
them.
You had great actors, though. And
yeah. But even people talk about but they're playing those characters exactly the way they're supposed to, and you totally believe. Aren't you a little short for a stormtrooper? Oh, the uniform. And Luke takes, I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm here to rescue you.
Yeah.
That's exactly how that the character, if Luke Skywalker was a real dude, he would have said it exactly the way Mark Hamill did. And that's why you believe it. And the problem with the prequels is the people in the movies, you don't believe one line of dialogue that they're saying.
You're nailing it, dude. You're nailing what the problem is.
And that was it. You don't believe, like, Sam Jackson has always delivered the goods except in the prequel trilogy, because nothing he says, do you believe that he's really, that it seems stilted. It doesn't seem real. And it doesn't seem like it's Sam Jackson, and everybody seems like they're delivering these weird constructed performances. So you don't like them as people. You don't believe them as people.
Well, and a lot of that you can blame squarely at the feet of the director.
Well, no,
Well,
it's
yeah,
true, but
yeah.
that's because George Lucas forgot what it meant to be a human being. He wasn't living in the real world anymore. He'd created this prison that kept him from living in with the rest of humanity. Whereas when he made Star Wars, he'd made American Graffiti, which is a story of his life, and people told him it wasn't going to work, and then it did work. And then every studio rejected Star Wars until Alan Ladd said, "Yeah, you know what? Let's take a chance." And then he made this crazy thing that they didn't even know how they were going to finish it. ILM was behind on the visual effects. The robots in the Tunisia were blowing up. And what it was an effort. It was true filmmaking, a true collaborative effort where George Lucas had the ideas, but you had all these other people that were contributing to make it great. And I think the contributors understood a little bit more of what George wanted than even George himself did. But with the prequel trilogy, it was all George. Nobody stood up to him.
Right.
Nobody said, these battle droids look a little rickety.
Well, no,
Yeah.
and you're right, because you watch the beginning and you see it. Like, even in the scene where he casts Jake Lloyd, everybody just kind of nods their heads and agrees with him when he's in the room. And the moment he leaves, they say all the shit they should have said when he was in the room.
Right. And why?
And nothing against Jake Lloyd, but the other kid was better, and that's what they kept pointing out. And yeah, but anyway.
Well, what's interesting is movie making is a totally collaborative effort.
I agree.
And look, a director needs to know what they want, because your film crew wants to give you what you want. But what's great about a movie is you get so much creative energy and creative ability from all of these different departments: hair and makeup, costumes, the art department.
Well,
and everybody's trying to bring their A game, but they require a director who has a very strong vision that can go, yes, 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 yes. And with Star Wars, George Lucas had an incredible team of people around him,
right,
that served his vision. And at the time, he was not George Lucas, creator of Star Wars. He was out there trying to make this insane thing that no one had ever done before.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And Andre, I know
I-
you needed to head out
Go
here,
ahead.
so.
Yeah, I have to head out, but it was a blast to hang out with all of you. Sorry that I'm halfway in a coma, but hey, time tells me like that.
We'll keep
Like
it
in the
going
movie,
for
are you hanging from strings like when Geneviève Bujold finds the...
What's
Yeah,
funny is I feel like
kinda
the
feel
minute
that
he
way.
leaves, I was just going to say this, the minute Andre leaves, we're going to gain a script doctor. So.
That's awesome. Then the size of the panel stays intact. Greetings, script doctor, and
Hello, everybody.
and
Welcome.
goodbye, everyone else, and thanks for joining. And
Take care,
everyone in the
Andre.
chat,
Have a good
just
night,
stay here.
Andre.
Just me, I'm-
By the way, I've
I'm
never
not
met
very clear.
Lorena Creole.
Yes, Lorena is one of our toxic
Lorena.
femmes, actually. Robert, this is Lorena, Robert.
I keep looking at you as the bride. I'm like, that's the coolest shit ever.
I know, she does some of those cool, she's got some cool ones that she does
She
all
does.
the time.
Now, is that did you really cosplay that, or is that Photoshop?
That is the Reface app. So it's this app that you use to map your face onto other people. Like today, I posted one of me as Gal Gadot in Wonder Woman.
Man, because the thing is, I want to see, you're the daughter of the
Vivica
character at the
Fox.
beginning of Kill Bill 1. You've grown up, and you've
Right?
taken on the persona of the bride, and you're going
That's
to reap
exactly
your
what I
own
was thinking.
revenge.
There
You're
you
going to
go.
come back and take names. You're going to kick ass and take names because the bride killed your mom.
I love this one. Thank you. But it's such a pleasure to meet you, Robert. I've heard so much about you, seen you on panels, so it's an honor.
The honor's all mine. But now I want to see Kill Bill 3, and that's got to be the
I know,
story.
right? That's the
Your
first thing I thought
character,
too.
you've grown up, and you're going to go kill Uma Thurman now.
You know what, Tom? You should have Perry Chan do that.
Kill B, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Well, actually, it's funny you mentioned that, Lorena, because I haven't talked to you ladies about that yet. I was going to talk to Perry Chan about putting you ladies in an intro for a new Toxic Femme intro where, like, I was thinking like you'd be the bride and Mary would pick whoever you guys would get to pick whoever you wanted to be. But yeah, like that was my inspiration for it, was seeing you as the bride though that one day.
Oh,
like,
cool.
yeah. So I got to talk to him yet about it, but we do.
I love it.
I know we got some super chats we got to catch up on here real quick. Sorry guys, you've been so patient. John Beck sends in $5. Says Pedro made a mistake. Jeremy gets fight boners like a honey badger. Someone pointed out Gina was winking in that photo. I didn't notice for some reason. Oh yes, the photo we had up earlier. Yeah, and yeah, that's basically what I was saying about Jeremy too. Is that's not a fight you want to pick. It just doesn't end well. Stephen Otten sends in another $5. Thank you so much. As Tommy was so, oh, hi, panel. If all the blue check marks went away, Twitter would be a better place to live. I hope I did a good enough Tommy was so. Culture Casino, our good buddy, says, look at all these sexy humans. Congratulations to Lorena Creole on getting her hours for monetization. Well, congratulations. Also, check out Comics News channel. You got a new channel, isn't that right, Comics?
I do have a new channel. It's called The Great Reset, where I talk about the Great Reset.
There you go. So
Right.
check that out.
And other more political related stuff rather than
if you're into
entertainment.
If you're into more of the political side of things, there you go. We also got one from Shiz Rebels 08, or SAHS Rebels, I think is what it's meant to be. Sends in a dancing pair, I think that is. Thank you very much. John Beck sends in another super chat. Time travel into TOS. Yeesh. Kobayashi Maru ? I think that's for you, Robert. I don't think Robert can say though what's coming up.
Oh no, I can't. So you mean
I have a suspicion, but I don't want to say it.
1 and 2?
Yeah, we'll have to talk about that later. Sorry about that, John Beck, but yeah.
I can say that an inanimate object gets anthropomorphized.
I hope it's a dildo.
Oh, no.
I know, right? Right?
And our good buddy Ord's Board sends in another super chat. It says, all the beautiful people, R&B dope, hail all. Yes, that's right. We got a special appearance by Robert Meyer Burnett. Is always a welcome cameo on Midnight's Edge.
By the way, somebody has to clip Script Doctor going, no.
That and I want somebody clipping Andre at the beginning of the thing going blue abadi abada. And then I want him to make that into a song. And then Marcos A wants to know our thoughts on who is the volunteer in the testing, because they're talking about they need more midichlorian blood. Who do we think they're talking about? I think it's Snoke. Who do you guys think? Comics?
Oh God, if it is Snoke, it's too on the nose. It has to be somebody else.
Rob?
I think it has to be somebody else too, but I don't know.
Mary, I know you gotta get going here soon. So who do you think?
It's gonna be Boba Fett.
Oh, you think it's gonna be Boba Fett?
It's gonna be Boba Fett.
Mary, what do you think?
Sorry, I have no idea what was going on. I was staring at the bride. What?
And then,
I do think all this since I've been here. So
who do you think they need Baby Yoda's blood for? Who's being tested on? That was the question.
it's gotta be. They're doing it for Snoke.
That's what I was thinking.
Pretty clearly, I think indicated in the test tube thingy.
Test tube, baby. Rob, our Rob.
Snoke, I guess. I don't know.
All right, Lorena.
I don't want it to be Snoke because I think that would be too convenient.
Yeah.
Boba Fett, I'm not too cool with that either. So I'm hoping maybe they'll be original and find something else or someone else.
Okay.
You silly goose.
Script?
Well, I mean, any idea I come up with is probably going to be more interesting what they actually execute, because I would be thinking that they would be harvesting the midichlorians to create Sith troopers, like what we were supposed to.
You could be right.
In the Rise of Skywalker, that ended up not doing anything other than what normal stormtroopers do. But
well, that may be what those troopers are all about.
I mean, wouldn't it, if you created a bunch of clone Sith troopers that were Force adept, wouldn't that be the ultimate army?
Yes, it would. And also it'd be something that you could still enslave through mind control or whatever have you, so that they're not able to usurp the current person in power, but are definitely slaves to them.
Yeah, I mean, I would think that you have an army of the anti-Jedi instead of Sith Sith masters. You just create an army of people that are Force adept.
Yeah, that would have to wind up in complete shambles because we don't see that obviously in
if I was in the room when George Lucas created midichlorians, I probably would have pitched him like, oh, that's a great idea, wink wink not, and say, hey, does that mean that the Jedi can harvest midichlorians and create super Jedi? Because I would be asking that question specifically to try and deter him to like throw that idea out, because you don't want to have eugenics in Star Wars.
But the thing is though, I mean, let me ask this question, because I'm not as up on the extended universe. Are midichlorians a byproduct of being force sensitive? Or do you have to have midichlorians to be force sensitive?
So as I understand it,
They affect you like cooties.
They're a byproduct. They're just something that happens to be present in your blood because you are force sensitive.
I took them as being kind of like a mitochondria. That's kind of how I took it.
A bunch of cooties.
But that makes me feel better, that if you're already force sensitive and midichlorians are a byproduct of that, that doesn't mean you don't have to be born with midichlorians to be force sensitive.
Right.
Well, think of the force sensitivity as a bug zapper that draws midichlorians to your body.
Right.
That's what I can't understand. Right. I don't like midichlorians.
I mean, that was kind of a silly idea.
The whole point about the force is that anybody should be able to tap into it.
That's what I always felt too. Yeah.
And that was the whole kind of point of Star Wars and Empire.
Yeah.
Well, that and the idea that just because you're not born force sensitive doesn't mean you can't develop the ability. But for the most part, most of your average citizens within the Star Wars universe are not force sensitive.
Trust me, I can tell you right now, we can get on a debate for this for hours. Ask the ladies.
Yeah, no, I don't want to get. But in my mind, I mean, the whole point is that most people aren't even aware that there is a larger living force that binds the galaxy together.
Right.
And once you're aware of that, it's like, when you start training for martial arts or when you play sports. I mean, I've always said I'm never going to be LeBron James. I could play sports my entire life. I just don't have the gifts that LeBron James was genetically provided. He's a beautiful man, and he's a very great basketball player. I don't have what he has. However, I could still, to the best of my abilities, become a good ball player. I just might not be NBA level.
Right.
Whereas the Jedi are NBA level people that develop their universal given traits, just like anybody. Some people are better at some things than others. And the people that are, if you develop your talents, you can become adept with the Force.
Yeah, I always looked at him as kind of like a mix between like monks and ninja warriors or samurais or whatever, to where you had, the spirituals mixed with the martial arts kind of thing, and it just kind of melded is kind of where I always saw it.
Well,
but Mary does have to go.
Movie, he basically, one of the Imperial officers basically said that, basically calling out the hokey religion that was the Jedi, essentially. And sorry, Mary, you got to go.
Yeah, Mary's got to head out, so I just wanted to make sure she got a chance to plug her channel real quick.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much, Tom. And thanks for the invite. I wish I could stay longer. I would really love to stay longer, but I have some things I really need to be working on right now. So, but I am Mary B. I am the Mistress of Mayhem, disruptor of the narrative, and official Whammon card holder. You can find me over my channel, Mary Mayhem, where I talk about newsy news stuff during the week and have a little fun on the weekends.
That's right. And you also can catch her on Toxic Femininity every Monday at 9 p.m. Central Time.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Tom. Thank you, everybody. For showing up. You guys are an absolute joy.
Bye. An honor to serve with you.
Take care, Mary.
Speaking of this great conversation, Ordsboard sends in another one, says, been a while since there's been good Star Wars conversation. So glad I tuned in today. I want to be just like all of you when I grow up. Well, thank you. Like I say to Robert.
Grow up. I'm still 12.
Yeah, that's what I want to be when I grow up. I want to be Robert Meyer Burnett.
Still be 12.
Nicholas Horton sends in £5, says, how about the whole crime syndicate mall plot leaks for the sequels? Oh, that's an interesting twist. Do you think that might have anything to do with the whole going down behind the scenes thing? Like with the testing and the bloods and all that business.
Well, I mean, are they cloning more Darth Mauls? Because I think,
or like maybe he's the one who's involved.
Darth Maul on Tatooine. Yeah.
Well, do you think they might be setting up Darth Maul for the Obi-Wan series too, as well? Is what I'm wondering.
Well, potentially, but going back to, they already killed the guy. What's the point? I mean, it's the same problem with Black Widow.
Well,
Is
don't they
that-
keep like he keeps coming back?
Keep cloning him.
Well, I mean, he only came back once, and I mean, they did it in the comics, and then they obviously they did it for Clone Wars, so it became quote unquote canon. But also, Robert, I want to throw out there, if you're ever interested in learning a lot about the extended universe stuff, a lot of that kind of started with West End games. So a lot of the West End game supplement material is actually really good.
Yeah,
and they incorporated that into the expanded universe stuff, including the comics and whatnot.
Well, I remember, like, obviously when Star Wars changed my life, and when after Star Wars we had Splinter of the Mind's Eye,
right?
And one of the things I thought was really interesting in the early '90s, when both Dark Horse put out Dark Empire and Timothy Zahn had the Zahn trilogy, they all kind of worked kind of in tandem together.
It did, yeah.
And when you had those things, I really liked them. I was like, wow, these world devastators, these machines that would scoop up all the great minerals that a planet has. I think they're world devastators.
Yeah, it's the world devastators.
They're world devastators. And then you had the Thrawn trilogy and all that. I thought that was really cool. Like, I thought that was a really cool extension because you had two different creative teams. Well, Timothy Zahn not being a team, and I thought it really extended the Star Wars universe and made it really interesting post Jedi. And then everything kind of built from then. And I for the most part, I mean, I was keeping up with the extended universe throughout the 90s. And then I kind of fell away. I mean, I read all the Dark Horse comics. They were doing the whole history that, well, the not the Knights of the Old Republic, but the Tales of the Jedi.
Tales of the Jedi, yeah.
And they were doing all that stuff. I liked all that. And I thought what was really interesting is you had creators like I'm a huge fan of Star Trek novels. Like especially the pocketbooks novels that came out as a result of Star Trek: The Motion Picture. And one of the things I always loved about tie-in fiction like this, Star Wars and Star Trek, is you had people that spent a really long time thinking about these universes and how they worked. And it was really thorough. Now we live in a world where Star Wars and Star Trek, the corporately owned, the people that are controlling these franchises are dabbling in them.
Yes.
And they're not spending the time. Like, you read any Star Trek novel or any Star Wars novel, there has been 1,000 times more thought put into the universe and canon as we're getting from the people that are writing the television shows. And that's the problem.
Yeah, I agree.
And we as fans have had decades of people thinking about this stuff. And I think what's frustrating to all of us, whether you're a Doctor Who fan, whether you're a James Bond fan, whether you're a Star Wars fan or a Star Trek fan, is we've spent our lives thinking about this lore, wondering how it all works. And when you're hired on a TV show, like Michelle Paradise, who runs Star Trek Discovery, she was on like a vampire show on the CW, or she was here, she was there.
She knows about sucking. Yeah.
And these people have not spent any time. Like J.J. Abrams was a Star Wars fan, because who isn't?
Yes.
Everyone's a Star Wars fan. But it's not like he was ensconced reading all of this lore. Because if you were, the lore has already been set out for you. The funny thing about these franchises is if you want something, it's all there. It's already been vetted, and it's already been gone through, and it's already been built. So you don't even have to do that. Now we've got all these people that come in and rebuild this stuff, but not as good. And yet the not as good version becomes canon.
Yes, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And that is hugely annoying for people like ourselves that have spent our lives immersed in this. And I don't know, there's got to be a name for this age when our favorite franchises are now in the hands of people that all they want to do is make the franchises the way they want them. The dark times. I don't know what it is.
It's the soy age.
Superficial.
The soy. I mean, Star Trek Discovery is a show about feelings, not about plot and metaphor. It really is, and it's a show
I
that-
believe you. I've heard about how like everyone's like crying in every episode,
and then in every episode there's these long. I mean, Star Trek was known, like the people that are writing Star Trek are not writing it from a place of knowledge. They're writing it from a place of acquired knowledge of pop culture. Like Star Trek was a show that was very aspirational and it was very inclusive of in its time, but they don't know what it really is.
No, it's
So-
secondhand.
It's all secondhand, and you watch these, and when people have these great highfalutin speeches, or they're talking about I needed you to complete me, or whatever the fuck they're saying, and you look at it and you're like, okay, well, what story are you telling? Like, where's the story? Where's the stake?
That's exactly what I got from watching Picard. Like I didn't watch Discovery because I was just like, no, I'm not going to touch that. But Picard, the premise looked interesting. So I sat down to watch it and I'm thinking, okay, you're going to tell me the story of the most interesting man in Starfleet. We're going to get to see what he's been up to. You're going to get to see who he still has beef with. You're going to get to see who he's mentoring. You're going to get to see all this about him. And thank you. And what did we get? But women dropping F-bombs and cussing him out, and Picard is like some neuter, doddering
It was the apology tour.
It was the apology tour.
Horrible.
I'll be honest with you. I think I would have less pain slamming my nuts in a drawer than watching Picard.
Right, Rob?
It was.
I'm sorry.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry. I'm so white.
I'm just like, I can't. And I tried to drop this show and get rid of it. And CBS says, well, would you like to keep it? We'll pay you for it.
Yeah, they kept trying to give me 3 months too.
To get it for free, and I'm like, okay. And then at the end, I'm like, I'm
keep
throwing
watching.
out.
Please.
I'm like, no.
Well, speaking of Lorena, we got a bunch of Lorena love from Terminus EST. He says, let's see here. First of all, these are probably out of order. So if I miss anybody's super chats at the end of this, please let me know, because when Andre left, I got kind of in disarray here. He says, Lorena can chop off your D with that katana. She could be Lorena Bobbitt. Lorena has bride in everything she does, like as in pride. Yes,
I do.
And that was, I believe, from Dark King 616. And then Lorena stars as the bride, and Kill Kurtzman says Space Monkey. Oh shit. And I think that's all. I thought there was a couple more from Terminus EST. If I missed any, let me know. Then Adam Wolford says, Star Wars has purge troopers, which are force-resistant troopers.
Is that from the Dark Forces video game?
Maybe that was Space Monkeys. I think I'm reading them.
I don't remember.
Like strange here. Okay, Terminus S said those first two. Then Dark King said the Kill Kurtzman one. Space Monkey said the Purge Trooper one. I apologize. And then Adam Wolford comes in with $10 and says, Star Wars Legacy Darth Krayt did the same thing when he created an army of Sith warriors. He was using him to will to control them. Only Cade Skywalker was strong enough to stop them. I think he was referring to the whole thing that Script was talking about with the how you control
the harvesting metachlorians. Yeah.
Are you guys going to be on for a little while longer?
Just a little bit longer, yeah.
Okay, I need to run out for just a second.
Oh no, yeah, you're fine.
I actually need to bail myself.
Okay, well, go ahead and take off. Comics, tell them real quick where they can find you, and we'll continue, and Rob will be right back otherwise.
Alrighty. Well, you guys can follow me on Twitter at Comics Division, and always there's my regular channel, which is just Comics Division. If you search for it, you'll find it.
All right. Yeah.
I tell you to search for the Great Reset, but you won't find it because it's still kind of small. But hey, I'm almost at 300 subs, which is pretty awesome.
If I actually have any mods in the chat, I'm sure they all will share. But yes, thank you for coming in, Comics. Always enjoy hanging out with you.
Yeah, it was fun. It was great hanging out with everyone. Tell Robert I said goodbye.
Will do. All right. Take care.
Bye.
And our next super chat comes from Rude Artist, who sends in $9.99. You could refer to this as the era of fanfic authors, because I'll bet you anything most of these new writers have read more fan fiction than actual literature. That's a very poignant statement. And yeah, I was going to say, Script will probably agree with you. And if Robert was here, he'd probably agree with you too. I'm sure Rob and Lorena can't really disagree with that much either. Because, yeah, a lot of this stuff does feel like a lot of fan fiction. And not only that, bad fan fiction.
Bad fan fiction.
Yeah, because fan fiction does have a lot of emotion as a driven, but it also repeats a lot of the scenes that people love, because that's what makes it fan fiction. Is you're getting these new characters, usually self insertions, doing the things that you watched your heroes do, and you want to kind of relive those moments. And yeah,
You
it's
said self-insertion.
it is a self insertion. That should be called the self insertion generation. Really, they can go self insert themselves for what they've done to a lot of the stuff that's
Yeah.
happening.
All right, and then Space Monkey comes in with a $4.99 one. Purge troopers and Legends, they were dark troopers. In Disney canon, they are part of Jedi Hunting Inquisition. I did not know that. See, I don't do homework. Rob and I don't do homework. If it's not in the shows or the movies, then we're not watching it. We're not going to know about it. That's your fault. You didn't put it in there. Right? Right.
If it's not if it's not there at the start, then yeah.
Exactly. And I know we missed one from Terminus, he said, so hopefully he gets that one back up in here, and we can get that one taken care of. I'm sorry I missed that. When we lost Andre, I think I missed at least one or two. I think that was one of them, was one of Terminus's, I thought, for sure. So, yeah, if you can just copy and paste or just tell me what it said again, and we'll address it. You don't have to resend a super chat. Just let me know what you said. But in the meantime, let's see here. So yeah, like, you guys are enjoying the show overall, though, or are you just kind of complacent at this point? Rob, I know you're a bit more engaged in the show usually. So what are you thinking so far?
Who, me?
Yeah, you.
What was the question?
Never mind. Terminus EST sends in $5 from before. Sorry about that. Yoda's species gene pool must really contain a lot of metachlorian. And I think that was somebody else even responded to that by saying that, yes, Yoda's species does have a high metachlorian content. And that's, honestly, I think that was the whole point of the metachlorians to begin with, was George just didn't have a way to equate and tell everybody that Yoda's way up here on the scale, but Anakin's higher. All you have to do is just say, I sense he's a stronger Jedi than Master Yoda.
He's got a stronger connection to the Force than
or something like that. That would have been,
Yeah, the moment you try to incorporate science into a space fantasy, kind of mucks up the genre a little, which is why there's no more mention of metachlorians afterwards until that speech about Darth Plagueis the Wise.
Yeah, that just threw me off when I heard the whole midichlorians thing. I'm like, really? That's what you're going to equate it to?
Well, what it ends up doing is it creates an unjustified legacy, because one of the most interesting things about the original Star Wars is that Luke was a farm boy, and his dad was just a normal Jedi as far as anyone was concerned. There's nothing really special about him in that first movie. It's not until you find out that Vader is his father that like, ooh, now we have a turn here.
Yeah, I mean, we have the term, like Yoda says, the Force is strong in your family, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a blood thing.
Well, not only that, but it's something they threw in for the Return of the Jedi just to tie up all loose ends, really. Because if they had the ending that they wanted to, and as you guys mentioned earlier when I was on my commute, like one of the comics said that one version Han dies. One of the scripts that I have, Lando Calrissian dies, escaping from the Death Star. There's rumor that what was going to be the ending was that Leia was not Luke's sister. Leia and Han hook up together at the end of Jedi, and Luke only saves Darth Vader from the dark side as they destroy whatever it is, and then he goes searching for his sister so that they can start another trilogy where they fight the Emperor, because the Emperor wasn't supposed to be revealed in person in the original trilogy. Or at least up until the point when they finished Empire, they weren't planning to bring the Emperor.
Yeah, there was a lot of different things that came in. Like, as far as Leia being the sister, that wasn't until nearly the last minute.
Yeah, that was literally like about a month before they started shooting.
And I remember
even Mark Hamill was like blown away by that.
Yeah, because I remember seeing an interview with George where he was talking about the moment he decided to make Leia the sister, because that whole "no, there's another" thing at the end of Empire with Yoda was actually meant to be there was another Skywalker sibling we didn't know about that they were going to introduce, and they just didn't do it.
Introduced to a following trilogy, probably like 85 or 86.
Yeah, and the scene where he decided he was writing the fight between Vader and Luke, and he couldn't figure out how to get Luke out from underneath the stairs there. He's like, I need some motivation here to get Luke, because he won't fight Vader. Because remember, he's like, I will not fight you. He's like, he wrote himself into a literal corner.
And he's like, how do you trigger him to attack?
He's
it's like,
oh,
go after your sister. And because Luke knows who the sister is.
Yeah,
because Luke knows who the sister is, that's where he can fight. Because if he didn't know her, he'd be like, well, I don't know where she is. So, no. Good luck
Yeah,
finding
so
her.
like that's the point where he decided to make Leia the sister. But anyway, we're getting way off track here. But we've got Robert back again, and we're not going to go too much longer. But we're just waxing some more Star Wars. I started by asking Rob, what he thought of the Mandalorian overall so far. But since he doesn't want to pay attention, we'll start with the other Robert.
Why did you say so, Tom? I loved it. It was much better than Cats. I'm going to watch it again and again.
But
everything's better than Cats.
I just kind of wanted to get everybody's overall feelings thus far, because we are basically halfway through the season now. I'm just curious how everybody's taking the show in overall, a season and a half in. What's your kind of overall feelings? I enjoy the show for the most part. I mean, if I had to give it a rating, I guess I'd give it a 6 or 7 out of 10 for a show so far. How about you, Robert?
My feelings about The Mandalorian, I'm conflicted about it. I think on one hand, it feels to me like a 60s Western show, like a Bonanza or a Gunsmoke or How Gun Will Travel. That, you know, what we want out of it is Star Wars is so important to so many people. And we love it so much. And this show is it's I think lovingly made, and I think it's fan service is definitely a part of it. Because everyone who's a fan, the people that are making the show are fans. But what we want is the Breaking Bad equivalent of Star Wars. We want the way we are getting. Whether you love The West Wing, The Sopranos, whether you love The Queen's Gambit, whether you love Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul, we are living through a golden age of television, of broadcast narrative, and The Boys, and we're living through a time that's pretty amazing. What we want is that amazement, that storytelling prowess to be carried over to Star Wars. And The Mandalorian is not that. The Mandalorian is it's supposed to be a fun, slight romp. And I think we're bringing we as viewers and astute Star Wars watchers, we're waiting for The Godfather and The Godfather 2 of Star Wars, and we're not getting it. And with The Mandalorian, we're getting a 60s episodic. If you've never seen this show before and you don't know who Baby Yoda is and you don't even know the overarching story, you can jump in for 30 minutes and have a really good time watching any episode of The Mandalorian. And that's fine. And I enjoy it from that perspective. But I want the Breaking Bad of Star Wars. I want the pick your favorite show, whether it is The West Wing or whether it is The Sopranos or whatever your favorite show is. I would love to see a Star Wars show with that kind of intellect and that kind of storytelling behind it.
Well, I want the Mad Men of Star Wars. No, I'm just kidding.
I want the classic MacGyver of Star Wars.
The classic MacGyver is actually a good example. Yeah. And I feel that the Mandalorian is closer to something like that. And I enjoy it. Mm-hmm. You know, I love seeing the troop transport, the first original Star Wars toy that we didn't see in the movies. That when I was a kid, I love seeing it in a chase scene against TIE fighters. I'm like, I love that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, wow. You know, Carl Weathers is on that gun, man, and firing at TIE fighters. What's not to love? I just wish that it engaged me more intellectually and more imaginatively.
Script? I know you've been breaking the show down quite a bit.
Yeah. I mean, it's still enjoyable to watch. But I did this in my last video. I equated The Mandalorian is cotton candy. It's delicious. You can eat a lot of it, but it's bad for your teeth and it doesn't leave you fulfilled at the end. Star Wars needs to be a hearty steak dinner with all the trimmings. Like, it's got to be something you eat, you're satisfied with, and you need a week to recover before you go back and get another helping, because and it's something that that you're looking forward to get. And it's weird that, I mean, because you definitely see the passion in the people who make this show.
Yeah.
So much so that one of them walked on set during a shot.
Yeah.
Which I have to blame the post-production team on that. They should have been able to fix that before they dropped it.
That should have been an easy fix. No, but I think you're right. That's a good analogy. It's almost like you're right, because even though I enjoy the show, I go into it almost expecting a steak dinner every time, but yet I'm getting a frozen banquet meal every time. It's good, but it's not quite what I was looking for exactly. That's a great analogy. Lorena?
I know for me, I'm enjoying it, but I kind of have to put it with this kind of caveat. Is it good sci-fi, good television? Yes. Is it good Star Wars? Absolutely not. Now, my biggest beef is the two first episodes that we got of the season.
Right.
What we got as a season opener was horrible as a season opener, because when you have a season opener, the purpose of the opener is, oh my God, resolve what happened at the end of the season finale and give me a reason to keep watching this show.
Right.
That first episode, that was okay for something further on in the season, but not for an opener. Not for an opener. I was bored. I was expecting to see like Moff Gideon on the tail of the Mandalorian and Baby Yoda. You didn't get a sense of urgency that they were being pursued that way. And that didn't happen. And then we got the next episode, which basically was more filler. And if there was ever a point in time when I was about to tap out of the Mandalorian, it was that. So thankfully, the third episode came along. It's like, okay, this is probably what it should have been with the season opener. Exactly.
Yeah,
and then the fourth one showed up. And then it's like, okay, that sense of urgency was what I was expecting to see in the season opener, which made me wonder, where the heck is the showrunner in all of this? Making sure all of this ties together and it's paced appropriately as it should be. So
that's John Favreau. I think he wrote this whole season by himself.
Yeah, so far he has, yeah.
It's just like ass backwards. It's, the first episode, it was okay. It was pretty good, but no, you don't open the season with that. So I'm enjoying it. I'm glad they pulled it out. I like watching it, but again, it's good sci-fi, but it's not good Star Wars. But I would definitely watch this before I watch Star Trek Discovery. I'll just put it like that.
Very interesting take. Did you have anything more to say, Rob, other than it was better than Cats and you watch it again and again?
It's good. It's like you said, Tom. It's good and it's good enough. Is it great? No, but I'm afraid that's where we're stuck now.
Yeah,
it's good enough. That's all. I hate saying it. I hate sounding defeatist like that. But
well, and one thing I keep bringing up when I talk about it, like with like the Geek Blend boys and all that kind of stuff, is like I got to constantly ask myself, would I enjoy this show as much if the sequels weren't such stinkers? Like that's the thing I always got to keep remind. Like, would I be as happy with this show if this was the first thing we got out of the gate? Maybe, but like the Baby Yoda-ism is kind of wearing off now. I wish I hadn't spent so much on Baby Yoda material. I'm getting to that point where, yeah, the kid's cute and all, but it's like the show itself is still kind of wearing a bit thin, but it's bringing me back with certain, other actors and stuff like that. But Space Monkey 0899 comes back again with a couple more super chats, wants to know what we were thinking about. I believe he was talking about the Dark Troopers. He was referring to the Mandalorian show ending. He says, I don't know if we were...
The shot at the ending, which is the Dark Troopers, yeah.
Continuing from Fallen Order is what he's bringing up here. So I don't know if anybody wants to comment on that. I don't know anything about Fallen Order, so I can't really
I don't either.
Discuss
that. I can't remember.
Yeah, and I think we lost our EU person with Mary. So
yeah.
By the way, she's really knowledgeable.
Oh, yeah. She knows her EU stuff.
She really knows her stuff.
Yeah. And Adam Wolford sends in $2. Can we just get JMS to write a Mandalorian series? JMS.
John Michael Straczynski.
John Michael.
Okay,
that's Babylon 5.
Gotcha.
Oh, wow.
Although his humor is a little heavy-handed.
I mean, that's the thing is Favreau opens the doors seemingly to a lot of good sci-fi people in this arena. I mean, the only person I would say who's probably gotten kind of a leg up in this thing and didn't really earn their place would probably be Bryce Dallas Howard. But then again, I know she's somebody who's been struggling for years to try to become a director. But
she's been crushing it.
Yeah, she's been fine.
Episode
Yeah,
3 was really well
but I'm just saying she's the only one who
really
really
liked
wasn't a
it.
well-established director when they came into the game. Like, you know, you had everybody else who's worked on the show is pretty much.
But you
brought
got to
chops
give
to the table. Yeah,
you know, I've always been a fan of hers, and the scene where the Razor Crest is plummeting through the atmosphere in that episode, the fact that it was an homage to the same shots that were in Apollo 13 that her dad directed.
I heard about that. Yeah.
That's pretty dope. I mean, I was like,
no,
and then she
I'm all
breaks
for
the
it.
tension with logical levity too. She breaks the tension with logical levity.
Yes.
She doesn't ham it up. It's perfectly timed, all done. Quite well.
She appears to be a lot like her father, a very competent director. And you know, that was kind of the thing we talked to Clint about, and he brought up quite a bit, is how, you know, how much shit she's dealt with over the past few years with her weight, and how she just wants to get behind the camera, but nobody wants to take her seriously behind the camera. But yet, you know, he talked about a lot of the shit that was in the writers in her contract, and or, you know, not writers, but I guess they would be studio writers in a sense, but like things like to do with her weight and other things like that she's had to deal with for years, that she just wants to get past and beyond. And she just wants to
I think she's
be a
damn
director.
cute, man. Come on.
I know, that's what I don't understand. It's like, what the fuck?
Like-
She's kind of like Gina. She's thick in all the right fucking places. What the fuck are you
Maybe they're
talking
just
about?
remembering her when she was pregnant during Spider-Man 3 press tour, because she was unrecognizable. But I mean, she's still a very beautiful woman.
Yeah, and by the way, can I just say something? I can't believe I'm going to say this since it's been brought up. I have really been disappointed in fandom when it comes to Star Trek Discovery. Our character Tilly, she's now a mom, you know, and she looks the way she looks because she was with child, and and I don't like the fact that fandom does these kinds of things, that when women are doing the things they were genetically designed to do, that they get a hard time for it. I think female actresses should be allowed to act wherever they are in the life cycle of their families or whatever, and the fact that they are criticized by the fan community is wrong.
Yeah,
I think it's wrong.
And Mr. Tickle Trunk sends us puppy pooping hearts. I love that puppy.
I love Mr. Tickle Trunk. He's somebody
awesome.
He's new to me, and he's been incredibly supportive.
Very supportive of the channel.
So
Very cool.
I'm actually going to drink.
There you
to
go.
Mr. Tickle Trunk. Here's to you,
There
sir.
you go.
Here's to you.
There you
L'chaim.
go. We'll give him a maximum effort puppy while you take a drink. There you go.
Yay.
Thank you.
He's so cute.
That's
hope
the
it's
greatest
me.
thing ever.
We got to get the new maximum effort puppy up. That one's cute as hell.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the little beagle puppy going up the stairs, and he's got that little strut at the end. Like, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I did it. But yeah, so I mean, so far, yeah, it's not a great show, but it's a enjoyable enough show, I think, to get us through until maybe we get something better. Do we think it's going to get better? Although I think that's what some of the super chats were kind of alluding to, is like, is there any hope for Star Wars? I know, like, the hope for Star Trek is pretty much dimming and dimming and dimming, but yeah,
You know
I don't
what,
know.
though? I think the one thing that The Mandalorian is missing is expanding the lore of the Star Wars universe. It's all reliant upon everything that's come before. And the thing that I like, okay, great, we get the Mon Calamari. Well, we've seen the Mon Calamari before. It's nice to see Mon Calamari working. Like, why do they have to be, they're using rope to put a spaceship together? I guess.
And seaweed.
And seaweed.
Yeah,
and
that was the dumbest shit ever. Yeah,
well,
go
that's the
ahead.
thing. I'm like, it would really be interesting. Like, you're in the outer rim, so everything can be new. And while I appreciate the fact that everything we're seeing has been previously established, they have a golden opportunity to actually do stuff that we haven't seen before, create alien races that are new. Like, look, as much as I like seeing Weequay from Return of the Jedi, I'm like, oh my God, my action figure Weequay that was on screen for 2 seconds is in The Mandalorian now. Oh, you know, that's fine. But I show me something new. Like, you've got a whole universe. You could create something that we've never seen. Like, every planet the Mandalorian goes to should be something new.
Yeah.
Why not? We've gone to
Tatooine. Yellow snow with a giant creature that pees in it all the time.
we've gone to Tatooine twice.
No, I know.
Yeah.
That's one thing I've complained about, is like the show doesn't really want to take us anywhere.
Been
that
to Navarro
new.
4 times.
Yeah, it's always either a desert planet, an ice planet, desert planet, ice planet.
Lava flat planet.
Yeah, lava flat planet. Well,
next planet's a jungle planet.
Here's the thing, and it's like every time we talk about this, you know what I'm keep reminded of is I've only seen The Rise of Skywalker once.
Me too.
But I have so many vivid memories of you describing that script and reading passages from and going through and Duel of the Fates, and it's like I keep having flashes in these moments of bits and that we never got to see, and it's like, God, you know what could have been.
Well,
and I mean, it's not a great script, but it was so much better than what we had, and there were some really awesome Star Wars moments in that script.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it could have been refined when they made it. But what was like the whole Kylo Ren's training with that what's his name?
Tal Valorum?
Is that what it is?
I think it was Tal Valorum, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was too quick and all that, but the rest of it, I mean, the idea of a citizens uprising on Coruscant and all that was great. And it's unfortunate we didn't get that. But what I find upsetting about how all of these franchises are being treated is now that they are corporate jewels. The problem is a corporation is the last entity that should be dictating storytelling.
Yeah.
And yet now with our favorite franchises, they're the first.
Yep.
They say, okay, this is what we need. It's got to be a TV show. It's got to be a movie. It's got to be a video game. It's got to be bed sheets, whatever. Toys.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be all things to all people. And what's so interesting about that is never how these things become popular in the first place. When Star Wars came out first in 1977, no one had ever seen anything like it. Sure, you could recognize Kurosawa in it. You could recognize Joseph Campbell, the hero's journey. But the combination, the frothy mix of all of that stuff had never been seen before. Never. Nothing even remotely similar in all of cinema history. And when you watched it, it was astonishing, you know, and the amalgamation of cool shit in Star Wars, whether you're talking about Chewbacca the Wookiee, whether you're talking about sandcrawlers and Jawas or droids or lightsabers or the Millennium, whoever saw a ship like the Millennium Falcon, whoever put a cockpit on the side of a flying saucer, like how could you fly that? You know, I mean, and TIE fighters and X-Wings and all of it, it was all brand new. And that's why it was so earth-shattering, because no one had ever seen that before. So what I don't understand is why that ethos is not, from a corporate standpoint, why don't they go back to when Star Wars exploded across popular culture the way it did? Why don't they want to recreate that feeling as opposed to falling back on everything we've already seen 100 times before?
Because we know what we've seen 100 times before sells, and we don't know what that new stuff sells. That's the argument I always get.
I know. And what's so funny is no one ever got rich following a trend in Hollywood. You get rich setting trends. Star Wars changed the world. It literally did. It changed the imaginations of the world. And that's what Star Wars should be doing, not showing us everything we've already seen before, whether it's Weequay, whether it's the Mon Calamari, whether it's a Mandalorian. I mean, I like the Mandalorian's Mandalorian. Basically, what they wanted to do was the Boba Fett show, and they figured, no, we'll create a generic Mandalorian character, the man with no name, which is what he is. But even that, I watch the show and I think, what they really wanted to do was a Boba Fett show.
Yeah,
he escaped the Sarlacc and that's why they're going to finally bring him in. But this show is the Boba Fett, non-Boba Fett show. And it's the generic Mandalorian show. And I get it. I understand.
It's the new Boba Fett. Not as great as the original.
Yeah, right. That's exactly right. And it feels that way with every episode. I'm like, nah, I'm watching faux Boba Fett.
There's one aspect they could have put in the Mandalorian that would have been considered familiar but also new. And that is if every single stormtrooper was an expert marksman, because that would blow away everything. People would be like freaking out, like, oh yeah, stormtroopers are actually threatening and they're good at their job. Because that's the one thing I really get bothered with this series is that they lean into the meme. of a stormtrooper can't shoot for anything.
That's the problem with all modern science fiction. Star Trek, Star Wars, leaning into the meme. That is the greatest example I can think of. You nailed it, man.
Yeah, I mean, yes, they literally in the last 2 Star Trek episodes we saw, nobody could hit for anything, and it's the easiest thing. But even in the most recent Mandalorian, I'm like thinking, man, if you really wanted to up the stakes of that raid on that Imperial base, you make the stormtroopers really good shots. Like even if they take cover, it's like, yeah, they can get right between those 2 crates and like nick you in the shoulder just to get you to come out and do a clear shot for execution. Like you have to put those threats in, or else we're not going to have that emotional attachment to our characters when shit goes down.
Because we don't feel they're in danger.
Right.
Exactly. And I never feel like these characters are ever in danger. And that's what's really, because I still watch the original Star Wars, even in Return of the Jedi, when Leia gets shot in the shoulder, I'm like, holy crap! She got shot. Like that's a serious.
Luke loses a hand for fuck's sake. The end of Empire and all that shit.
Yeah, but that's to Vader. I mean, a little bit different. But that opening scene in Star Wars where the stormtroopers just mow down those older security guards.
Parts. Yeah.
And only a couple of stormtroopers are actually taken out as a result of that. You're like thinking, damn, these are really tough guys.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think you just pointed out a big problem with modern Star Wars is the villains ultimately are not a threat.
Yeah.
Yes.
We already know our good guys are always going to win.
Yeah.
And at the end, like when I was a kid, the reason I saw like Star Wars changed my life. I was 10.
Yeah.
But Empire Strikes Back solidified Star Wars as something that Star Wars, when it first came out, was a one-off. And when they made Empire, what went on in Empire so subverted what happened in Star Wars. Our characters are routed, they are tortured, Luke is maimed, and it was all about, for me as a teenager, I'm now growing up, I'm becoming an adult. The Empire Strikes Back really was pointing the direction of a franchise to adulthood, which was then destroyed with Return of the Jedi. Which I think is
half of Return for Jedi, definitely. There's a half of it that's what the heck's going on here, and the other half is like, damn, this is really good ideas and stuff.
Well, yeah, no, I mean the confrontation between Luke, Vader, and the Emperor is incredible.
Yes.
But the rest of the movie is very inconsequential. You've got the rescue of Han Solo, and then you have the Battle of the Death Star, and everything else in the middle or whatever doesn't matter.
No,
the rescue of Han Solo, and there's other than that, there's
treading water.
Yes. And it was so strange to me that's. I mean, the end to me, Return of the Jedi should have been like Gone with the Wind or Lawrence of Arabia.
Yeah.
It should have been it should have been Return of the King.
No, and I think you're right. I mean, as much as I love Return of the Jedi, it does have that rushed kind of, we just need to get this done kind of feeling to it in a lot of ways. And
but it doesn't introduce anything
George
really
filler,
new.
Yeah, and a lot of George filler just to fill the toy racks again, like I said before.
The only idea it introduces that's kind of new is like what it actually means to be a Jedi kind of thing at the end. Because I always say like the arc is Luke starts off as a farmer turned rebel, and then in Empire he's a rebel learning to be a Jedi, and then at the end he's a Jedi trying to figure out how to be a Jedi. He goes through those stages because he's still pretty much a rebel in Empire. He's a rebel who's got force power, so to speak. He's not really a Jedi. He's still the first one to attack first, like a rebel would, as opposed to a Jedi, which is knowledge and defense. And that's the philosophy he learned. That's the lesson he learns from Empire that he takes with him into Jedi, and he tries to stick to. And the Emperor is kind of teasing him, like, kill your dad. And then he's remembering, like, the sort of direction that Yoda and Obi-Wan are telling, which is face your father. But he's interpreting it as kill, and that's not the lesson they're telling him, and that's where he's battling that light and dark side thing until he realizes, oh yeah, they're not telling me to kill my dad, they're telling me to face him, save him, bring him back, and that he learns that lesson and wins in the end. It's great lesson to have.
Vader, not so much his dad. Mr. Tickle Trunk sends in cheers. Little icon there to you, I'm assuming Robert, and there you go.
Well, I drink again to Mr. Tickle Trunk. Cheers to you, sir.
And then while you're taking a drink there, Rude Artist sends in a $9.99 super chat. The need for new is what gave us most of the stuff we hated in the sequel trilogy. Mandalorian is the way for newbies to prove they can work with what's already there and not screw it up.
What was new in the sequel trilogy?
Yeah, I don't know if there's much.
I mean, I don't mean to be rude to Rude Artists. I'm just
I'm trying to figure that too. Outside of the Last Jedi, which really I wouldn't call it new so much as just the subversion of what Star Wars was kind of before that, and the idea of what should come next, at least for the most part, and not really. He was trying to pull a "I am your father" moment, but it really wasn't. That
In
was,
reverse, yeah.
Yeah. And I think that was where a lot of people were feeling like, oh yeah, The Last Jedi tried something new and it didn't work. No, it wasn't so much The Last Jedi tried something new. It's just that it literally threw everything out the fucking window.
In fact, there's a personification of that in the deleted scene that's been circulating around Twitter, where Rose, Finn, and DJ get into a turbo lift of some kind, and then stormtroopers just enter in from the rear, and then one kind of recognizes Finn, and it's good tension up until that point, and then the stormtroopers yeehaw cowboy type of guy smacking his butt saying congratulations on your promotion. It's like that is a perfect way to show that you don't understand tension and what you're doing. You're mocking your own concept. And it's exactly the opposite, because what it should be is basically he looks and he's like recognizes like, wow, congratulations on your promotion. And Finn's like, thank you. And it's just awkward silence after that until they can get off. Before,
Right.
And because that's how you play it. You play that straight. And he's trying to do the same thing of what Han Solo said. It was like boring conversation anyways. Like, no, that's a completely different context of what's going on with this scene. Like, yeah, he just didn't understand it or get it.
Oh, I felt that way about the entire sequel trilogy.
Yes.
It's interesting. Like I've even been a Last Jedi defender, because I think the only thing interesting in that film, and I think you could actually re-edit that movie and make it good, in the sense that if you started the movie with Finn and Rose on Canto Bight, and it was like a Bond opening, and they're going to find DJ. And you just drop us in. We don't know who Rose Tico is. We know who Finn is. We know where he was left. We don't know. I mean, the idea that he's still that Last Jedi begins at the very end of Force Awakens. But there's this. So you're in a different environment. They could play, if you played the entire Canto Bight sequence, tighten it up, but make it the opening of the movie, and then you find out that the rebels or the resistance is being routed, and they have to, the DJ, they're gonna make a Hail Mary pass to this old rebel base that they can't get into, and that Rose and Finn have to get back to the resistance stronghold, and then they've already left. They find out there's the chase sequence. Then I think the movie itself could have been much more interesting, because why you've got this chase sequence, this weird slow chase sequence, and in the middle of all of that, you have Finn and Rose leave for a mission, and it's so weird from a structural standpoint. Like, why would you?
That's some of the least of my problems. I'm not sure you can re-edit it with what's there, though. I don't know.
No, I wouldn't say I mean, in terms of rejiggering the entire story. I mean,
I
really
the problem is that Leia's alive at the end and Luke's not. That's the biggest issue, on top of a million other things.
Yeah, but I love the idea that, like, I think the Rose Finn pairing could have worked really, really well. But the problem was, when they conceived these characters like Finn, a stormtrooper, the idea of a stormtrooper, a man who was working for the opposition, who had a crisis of conscience, that's a beautiful story point. That's the beginning of great drama. Yep. They never played that out. It never becomes a thing. He's just, by the end of Force Awakens, he's just your generic hero.
No, it's just used as a joke after that.
And it's amazing to me. Look, I am no fan. I've never met J.J. Abrams. I'm sure he's a nice man. He's made 5 terrible science fiction movies. I mean, it's like, have you ever read a science fiction novel?
Oh, like, JJ doesn't read.
He doesn't understand.
He listens to audios and then writes.
And I think that all 5, his 2 Star Trek movies, his 2 Star Wars movies, and Super 8, they're all terrible, uniquely terrible.
Yeah.
And science fiction is first and foremost a literary genre. And if you have not read the canonical works of science fiction, like foundational works, whether literally it's The Foundation, whether it's Dune, whether it's Stranger in a Strange Land, whatever. I mean, if you haven't read those, you cannot understand where science fiction is coming from. And to me, J.J. Abrams is uniquely untalented in terms of his writing. It's and never more so than, and also he didn't write the Star Trek movies, to be fair. I mean, Kurtzman and Orsi wrote Star Trek 09 and Into Darkness,
Right.
but he was sitting in the edit bay, and you look at those films, and I've never seen a movie where the antagonist is not understood as much as Star Trek Into Darkness.
Well, that Tarantino interview says everything and you need to know about JJ. I'm sure you've heard it before.
Yeah. Oh yeah. When he's on Jon Stewart and said, I never liked Star Trek.
Yeah.
He doesn't care. That's the thing. It's not so much, I don't even know if he wants to understand. He just doesn't care. It's all about the bottom line for him. It's all about just, the fortune and glory. And
dude, Star Wars is so near and dear to me.
Yeah.
That I have this
that's beautiful.
This amazing. This weighs like 2 pounds. It's my favorite Star Wars figure of all time. It's a metal C-3PO. It's the Bandai Chigoken DX-3PO. He even lights up. I didn't turn his lights on.
Is that from the Return of the Jedi version?
No, it's You can see he's got a silver leg here.
Oh, I'm just looking at the wiring in his midsection, because when it's all jumbled, that's original Star Wars. That's Star Wars, and then when it's all nice and organized, that's Return of the Jedi.
Well, it might be. As a matter of fact, I should pull off. I can't do it with one. Well, maybe I can. No. Oh yeah, with one hand. Look, check this out. Wait, hang on. Let me turn it. I can't. Oh, see, it's hard to do when
Don't
you
break
only have
it.
one hand. No, he's not broken. He just got blown up by the Bothans. Or by the by the Ugnaughts.
Actually, it was the stormtroopers that hit him, and then the Ugnaughts found his parts. But yeah,
stormtroopers here.
Yeah. Oh no. Nicholas Horton sends in £5. Star Wars Resistance isn't what it was, i.e., animation story. It was bantha poo. I didn't even bother watching the Resistance cartoon, if that's what you're talking about.
Same. I avoided
Never
it.
saw it.
It didn't even look remotely interesting to me. It looked way too kiddie. It almost reminded me of like episode 1, only more bright. Like that was one thing I didn't care for about episode 1 was just the aesthetic that George picked for the whole Naboo, like bright blues and bright, all that kind of, bright yellows and Mr. Tickle Trunk sends in a Canadian $2. Will the Dark Troopers introduce actual danger? That's a good question.
No.
I hope that they would, but I don't think they're going to go that far.
That's the thing is, like, I think Mary was kind of alluding to this earlier too, is like you have a problem here fundamentally is like if you have such a strong adversary, where were they in the sequel trilogy? Right. Or what part do they play here kind of thing. So they may be a small group of them perhaps. I guess we'll just have to see how these last few episodes of Mandalorian play out, basically. So yeah, and you're right, Darius. Naboo should have been Alderaan. I agree. That was
that's the planet we haven't seen really, in other than that one shot at the end of Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, because it makes sense because it actually sets you up to understand and actually have it gives you the opportunity in a prequel to establish something that and then you grow to love this place or these people, and then you realize, oh shit, this is the planet that gets destroyed.
Oh yeah, I mean the one thing that actually got me an emotional response out of J.J. Abrams' Star Trek is when Vulcan's destroyed. I'm like, no, I care about that planet. Son of a gun, he did it and shouldn't have done that. But I understood it and I had that emotional connection to it. And you kind of have the same thing with Alderaan because Alderaan looks so much like Earth in the shots that they show. But I would have been amazing if that was a very prominent planet in the prequel trilogy. Like we went there twice, like we did with Tatooine or what have you. It would have been something interesting. Instead, we get Naboo, who we learn a little bit about, and then
Carrie Fisher's
don't care.
home planet. I bet you it was full of a lot of '60s like hair and outfits and cocaine. But that's just me and disco. But anyway, no. Shellback says RMP just did an AOTC decapitation of C-3PO. I really hope he didn't break that, man.
Oh no, he's all good.
Okay, good. Because you're off camera now. I'm like, oh shit, he's probably freaking out because he broke his toy.
No, I didn't. No. He's all good. He's all good. I'm just putting him back together.
Good. I was like, oh shit, I feel so bad.
What I really wanted to do was show you guys how his eyes light up, and hang on. Let me just now that his head is taken apart. What's really cool is look at this. Look at this. Well, you can't.
Ooh, nice.
Oh, cool.
I can see it.
See how his eyes light up? His
Nice.
eyes illuminate. So, yes.
How much did that bad boy?
Oh, man. It was like, I don't know, $300 or something.
I can see
Wow.
that.
It was
Car payment,
ridiculous.
okay.
I know,
Yeah.
right? I know, but you know what? What's so great is a lot of these things are you put them on layaway, you pay them off over 6 months, and it doesn't hurt. And then they just
I've
show up
really
at your
had to-
doorstep, and
yeah.
you're like, "Oh my god, I bought this! I totally forgot." Awesome.
I've so had to like
So
back
good.
off on some of my buying.
Oh no, it's terrible. Like it's and the real problem is like there's a company called Jazz Inc. JAZZINC, Jazz Inc. They're in the Netherlands, and they make 6th scale and 12th scale play sets, and they basically they have a Millennium Falcon cockpit in 6th scale that is absolutely accurate. It's got lights in it, and it's insane. They made a Batman's Justice League Batmobile, the Zack Snyder from Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice.
Mm-hmm.
It's got lights in it. It fits the 6th scale Hot Toys Ben Affleck figure.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like $1,300. They have a 6th scale land speeder. You know, it's like this big. They're amazing, and they let you pay things off for a year, so you can like sign up, and then a year goes by, and you're like, oh, my Millennium Falcon cockpit's coming from the Netherlands. Not that I would know anyone like that.
Yeah. That's all
Just
right.
saying, but
That's
yeah,
one of the reasons we love you.
I'm telling you, man.
But I know we went a little long in the tooth here. I want to thank everybody for joining us, especially the chat for hanging in there, all the super chats. Robert, of course, who I want you to stick around because I want to hear the secret news about Star Trek. But
Dude, it's so awful.
But to all you listening out there, I know we got to end this because Lorena has to get rolling here too. And Lorena,
By the way,
check out
what
her
a
channel.
what a treat! I just want to say, Lorena, great to meet you. And
likewise. Thank you.
I think you really need to do cosplay. If there's ever another San Diego Comic-Con, I expect to see you as the bride, you know, with a
She
big
could rock
giant
that
sword
outfit,
in your
I
hand.
bet.
I will be there.
All right. So do check out Lorena's channel. Anything you want to plug real quick before we do go?
Two things. One, of course, I'm Lorena Creole, bringing you that spice to sci-fi and pop culture analysis. On Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern, I will have my Welcome to Florida live stream where we talk about all crazy things Florida man, some history about Florida you didn't know, especially as my family has been in Florida since 1565.
She sucks me into those once in a while,
Wow.
too, by the way.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, I pop up.
We got to have you back soon. But speaking of you, Tom, I am having a pop-up episode of my lunch table show on Tuesday at 12 noon Eastern, and Tom will be my guest that day.
That is correct.
And that's all I have. So thanks for inviting me on the panel. It's been a great time talking with you guys.
Well, no,
Pleasure
we've been wanting to
meeting
get you on another show besides Toxic Femme for a while now, so it's always a pleasure to have you on. And of course, check out Script Doctor as well. You got your reviews coming up regularly. I see.
So I've already recorded my episode 5 review, and I'm just editing the raw track of that is like 52 minutes long, so I got to cut that down. And I've also written a quarter of the episode 6 review, so I'm getting that taken care of. And so look for that coming just after the weekend, I hope to do. Yeah, my schedule is going to be changed again because I'm in Ontario and we just went into like a code red lockdown starting Monday, so I have no idea what's going to happen on my regular day job stuff at that point. But I'm still tinkering away on this. And so, yeah, feel free to check out my channel and catch up on some of my reviews and have a lot of fun.
And also check out the Burn Network as well if you haven't already. I know you've been doing your independent film or short film.
The intergalactic Imagination Connoisseurs Film Festival, at which we're going to our final week. We've been having a film festival for Imagination Connoisseurs, people sending in their movies, and there's more stuff to come. It's been really interesting. I mean, so for people who don't know, one of my viewers, Dieter Bastian, and his friend Patrick Keller just randomly made a funny movie called The Secret Exchange, and sent it to me to play on the show. and it's a Hot Toys movie, and Patrick and his daughter Mia, who's 10, is in it, and Dieter, my friend Dieter, who I'm doing the physical media show with, he was in it too. And they sent me this movie. It was so much fun, and I randomly, like off the top of my head, said, let's have a film festival. And I said, all of you make movies. And this was like 2.5 months ago. So people have been sending me films, and the last entries are, if you submit an entry form and pay your entry fee of $25 by the 1st of December, you don't have to have it done by December. You have a little bit of leeway, but people are sending films. So, it's people who've never made films before, and it's just been delightful for me to see how creative, the world is, and it's been a lot of fun. So that's been going on my channel, the Burnett Work. If you go to the Burnett Work on YouTube, you'll see the entries for the first. And by the way, it's the first film festival ever that has opened itself up to entries from extraterrestrials.
That's right.
And we have said we'll waive the $25 entry fee. Because obviously, if you're not connected to, say, PayPal or anything like that, you can't. It's hard to pay it.
You just have to prove you're not from Earth, right?
Yes. If you can prove you're not from Earth, you can. We'll waive the entry fee. So far, unfortunately, no extraterrestrials have entered or tried to enter the festivals. I'm really because what happened to the lizard people? David Icke. The David Icke lizard people. I thought I would get at least one.
No extraterrestrials that you know of.
Eddie Torres.
Well, that's true, but I was hoping, that somebody would not want to part with their $25, and it's because
there's some cheap aliens out there, probably.
I know, but I would have thought that somebody would have at least alien propaganda, maybe soften us up before the invasion, a little V action, a little Jane Badler as Diana from the original 80s V. You know what I mean? I wanted to see some like hot extraterrestrial alien babe who's really a tentacled monster like Barbara Boucher in the Star Trek episode By Any Other Name. But I got none of that. I got nothing. I got no extraterrestrial entries. But there's still time.
There's still time.
I am Lur from Omicron Persea.
Say you'll get one video.
I will enter.
It's a probing of a cow. That was it. All right, folks, do check out all these channels, and we do thank you for joining us on this Mandalorian discussion here on Midnight